started when it'll take a
Okay.
second to roll. What up? What up? How's everybody doing?
What up?
Hey, you guys don't mind type in a hot second the audio, how the audio is, and we'll make sure to get this thing going.
Where's the chat here? Okay, now I see.
There's usually like a from what me and you talk about, there'll be like a 5 second delay from the
Yeah.
Google Hangouts is slow for some reason.
Yeah, you would think that this would be like on point with their shit. I guess if we have a lot of people in here, then it might just drag it down.
Yep. Yeah. You would think that Google runs the whole world that they'd figure it out.
Oh yeah.
They seriously do, though, man. There's like nothing, man. I'm always wondering. I'm like, I wonder if they're reading my emails. They know all the creepy
Oh,
pornos.
they got something going on, like with the government and shit, man. They're everywhere.
No doubt. All right, folks, welcome. So this is our, I don't even know, sixth Path to Profitability webinar. And as you guys know, most of the Path to Profitability webinars we've been doing have been with my students, my past students, and we've been interviewing them about their path to become professional traders. And one of the things that I've been kicking around for a long time was, we should expand this and bring in traders that are just at the top of their game, traders that I've known for a long time. And I've been friends with Cameron now since, I don't even know, probably 2008. And a lot of people don't know this, but out of all the people that are really on the social media right now, like me and Investors Live and Tim Sykes, Cam was actually the first one of us with his own website. He had a website called the technicaltrader.net. And I remember when I didn't have Bulls on Wall Street, I used to always Google, like, learn to day trade and stuff like that. And Cameron's website used to pop up all the time. And he had, like, this obnoxious website that was, like, all in black. And he'd be talking about these wins with his black service crew. And I was like, man, that's really racist to be calling all his, his crew black guys.
You were confused about that, yeah.
I was really confused about that. And, about a year later, I opened up my business, and me and Cameron hit it off. We used to talk on Twitter, and we'd always be kind of around talking about the same stocks, and we had like a very similar attitude about, this type of job and how we live and stuff like that. And so, one day I was like, oh, why don't you give me your GChat? And then we hit him up. I hit him up on GChat. And literally for years after that, like, we'd hang out on GChat talking stocks, life, girls, like whatever. And we never trade the same stocks. We never trade the same stocks, but it was cool to have, like, a trader friend that, like, is kind of doing the same thing that you're doing, that's kind of going through the same stuff. Especially when the markets suck, like our businesses get slow, our trading stinks, we're like suicidal. And so me and him developed like a really cool friendship. And then about a year ago, I went down to San Diego. We went out for New Year's. I was with my sister and my cousins, and Cam took us out. Great time. And so when I was doing these webinars, the first person I thought of, like, when I wanted to expand this out to professional traders was, my good friend Cameron, who has been doing this since he's in college. And I think he's got a really, really cool story, because a lot of times when you see Cameron, you'll only see the stuff you see on Facebook, which is the girls and the cars and stuff like that, which is pretty freaking cool. But, most people don't know that how much hustle he had to put in, because he did this while he was in college. And then to be 22 years old and start up your own business and become a professional day trader, that is not easy. It requires so much talent, but an incredible amount of hustle, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And so he's been through it all, and so I wanted to bring him on. So Cam, why don't you give us a little bit about your background on how you got started in this, or something along that end. Idaho.
Their laptop here is turning on. But yeah, no, I'll give you a background check of basically how I got into this. Was I didn't really know what I was going to do. Like in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to go for college for. I mean, I kind of knew my best friend's dad was a stockbroker, and he was always coming home in his slick-ass business suit and his BMW, and I was like, your dad's a pimp. I want to do what he does. And so I was going to school. I went to Oregon State University, originally from Eugene, Oregon, and so I was going to school to be a stockbroker. I wanted to be like a stockbroker. At the time, I didn't really know what a stockbroker was. I just knew it had to do with the stock market. I was fascinated by stocks, and so that's what I was going to school for. And then in 2005, my aunt gets this stock tip about this company called Cytomedics. I think the ticker was GTF, or it's GTF now if it's still even trading. And so everyone's getting all hyped up about this stock pick in my family, like my aunt, my mom, my girlfriend at the time. And so I ended up thinking, you know, I had an okay car at the time. I had a BMW M3 that I was driving in high school. That I had that because our great uncle had just passed away, and he left about $500,000 to our family. And so that's where all this $500,000 was going, was into this stock called GTF, Cytomedics. And at the same time, my mom and my aunt were members of this website called 3stocksonfire.com, which was run by these two Portugal guys that were pretty good at trading. And that's kind of where I kind of laid the ground for my foundation of what I do now, is stuff that I learned over there. But they were doing, you know, trading all this stuff on the side. Maybe this was after that, but how this all began is I sold my BMW so I could start learning how to trade stocks. So I sold my BMW and put $10,000 in the market, and I put the majority of that into this biotech stock, thinking like, okay, this thing's going up. My aunt has some insider tip or so, I don't know. She knew some guy that knew a guy that talked about some kind of tip for this stock. And so we all bought it at like $4 per share or something, and it ramped up to about like $7 per share within probably a month. And so everyone's super stoked. Everyone thinks we're getting rich, and that this thing's going to 20, and this is easy. You know, this is all you got to do is just buy stocks, and it goes up. And so I remember, I think I was home for college summer. My girlfriend's sleeping in my bed. My mom's in the other room. And I wake up at 6, and I'm like looking at my stock screen, looking at GTF. Granted, I had sold GTF about a week before this. I didn't tell anybody that I sold it. I was bored. I want to learn how to trade stocks. But everybody in my family had, you know, fantasy shit about this stock going up. So I'm looking at my screen, and I'm like, oh man, it's early. What's going on here? And I'm like looking at GTF, and it's trading at 50 cents from 7 the previous day. And I'm just like,
you gotta be kidding! Shit!
What the? And so pretty much my entire family's inheritance that they got was wiped out that day. You know, my mom was in it, my aunt was in it, my mom and her sisters were in it, my mom's boyfriend was in it, my girlfriend was in it. So that was kind of my intro to the stock market, was seeing how you know, screwed up it can be, especially if you don't play by the rules of the game. You know, that's what it really boils down to in the end, is being able to know the rules and actually play by them. You know, my family put all their money in this one stock, this one basket. They didn't know shit about the stock market. They didn't know anything about this stock. They just had some tip from some random guy that, whatever, I didn't know what was going on either. I was only about 20, 21 years old. But from there, after that whole debacle happened, I still had some money left to mess around with, and that's when I became a member of this website called 3stocksonfire.com. And after about a year just screwing around, I was in there every day. At this point, after about a year, I didn't really care about my college classes. I was sitting there writing, you know, in-depth detail blog posts in their forum, trying to like make a name for myself. So I became a popular member of their website, and within a year, I started my own website in 2006, which was thetechnicaltrader.net. And I was still young, you know, I was still like 21 or 22 at this time, and then I'm still in college. I'm partying my ass off. I'm not like that serious about doing this, but it was definitely a passion of mine. But at the same time, I'm partying 4 or 5 nights a week, you know, getting after it, so I wasn't taking it that seriously. And I ran the technicaltrader.net for 2 years, basically for free, just building my reputation, kind of figuring out what the hell I'm doing in life, if I'm going to go try to be a stockbroker at like a finance firm, or continue with this path. So at one point, I almost sold the technical trader and I had it listed on eBay for sale for like 2,500 bucks. Just get rid of it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go work for a finance firm uh, and sell my website and just not even take this path. But nobody bought it. I had a couple of inquiries about it. Nobody bought it, thank God. You know, that could have been a totally different path I took. Um, and then in 2008, I actually turned it into a business. I was like, all right, I was actually bartending at the time in Boise, Idaho, and I just said to myself, you know, I need to either, you know, shit or get off the pot and turn this into a business. I can't just keep doing this for free. I got to go figure out something else to do. But I'm trading at the same time, um, and so I eventually just said, hey, I'm no longer doing this for free. So at that point, I had built a pretty good reputation for myself as far as people, you know, trusting me with I knew what I was talking about doing. And so it was cool because I had so many people sign up. You know, I made $30,000 just from people signing up that opening launch of my business. And at that point, I was only 23 years old, just started my brand new business, and I was like, this shit, this is the real deal. Like this, people actually, you know, trust what I'm doing because, you know, I had built a rapport and a reputation that people, you know, said, okay, yeah, I do want this service. You are valuable enough to pay for your service. So that was 2008, and that was right before the maybe biggest financial collapse of the U.S. stock market. So,
Yeah.
and it moved to San Diego, and you know, shit got rough for a while there. There was maybe about 4 months where things were just, you know, chaos. That was when, you know, some of the biggest finance firms were going out of business and stuff. So that wasn't fun at all. That definitely, my business was in the gutter. Trading was extremely hard. At that point, I didn't do any day trading. I was only a swing trader, and there was no way to be able to swing trade through that mess. So I kind of got my start on day trading during that whole debacle of the whole financial collapse. But it was really only about 4 months that was, you know, really bad. And then March, I think we bottomed out 2009, and we've just been killing it ever since then. I eventually joined up with Profitly, which didn't work out, and I'm extremely happy to be back on my own running foodsalerts.com, which I do today. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is 10 years later from when I started trading, and we're, you know, doing the best we've ever done.
Score. Hey, let me ask you this, because this says as you're a swing trader. And I think about this all the time. I used to do only swing trading up until 2010. When the market sucks, I mean, penny stocks or small cap stocks, I mean, they're like, you can't even get like 10,000 shares in volume in some of those things. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? What do you do during those days? Do you go to regular stocks, or you just hang out and do nothing?
Lately, you know, I've been trading a lot more. Like when the market's in a chaotic mode like it is now, over the last month, you know, if you watch when the Dow is in complete just chop shop, you know, small caps don't tend to have really much substance to them. They don't have very big continuations. Some of them do, but I don't tend to trade those that often. Lately I've been trading more larger caps. Like I just traded GoPro after hours, and I've been trading Lake a lot. Like even though it's kind of a small cap stock, you know, it's a low float play. I've been trading the Ebola plays left and right. You know, APT, VSR, IBIO, Lake, but I've been kind of shying less away lately from, you know, stocks that don't have liquidity in them, because a lot of times if I'm going into a stock at $1 per share and I throw $20,000 at that, I'll buy into that stock, and then next thing you know, it's selling off on low volume, and I can't even get rid of my shares. So my position sizes are getting much larger, and some of these stocks are very low float. If you look at like PVCT today, which was one that was breaking out over $1, but the volume was so low, I didn't want to buy into it because it could have worked out. If it goes up, you know, I make a lot of money. But if it doesn't work out, I have nobody to sell my stock to because the volume.
Yeah, that reminds me of, like, I think it was a couple years ago when we were really chatting on GChat, and you meant to buy 5,000 shares of it was $1 stock. It might have been IBIO or something with an I, and you fat fingered it and you bought 50,000 shares. And
it was I think it was GSAT, and I meant to buy 10,000 shares at like 60 cents, and I
you got
I
100.
accidentally bought 100,000 shares at 60 cents, and then next thing you know, it's up at $3 per share. But I sold it for like a loss within like,
There was
like
we
5 minutes
were
or
like
something.
sitting there like shitting our pants because we're like, how are you going to get out of this stock with all
Yeah,
these freaking shares? And it's like a full-time job to get rid of those shares. Like you can't even
yeah,
think
yeah.
about trading because you literally got to sit there and play the bid and ask and sell like
You got to
100
piece by
shares at a
piece.
time.
Sometimes you can't just unload it all because you're just going to wipe out the entire the bid there and continue to drop the stock. So you got to be careful about that, especially if your position sizing is getting larger. So you got to be. That's why it's risky to play a lot of these stocks that don't have liquidity. If you're trading with $10,000 to $20,000 per position, a lot of these stocks can't handle that unless they're getting ramped up.
So give me an idea of your trading style, and then like a couple of your favorite type of setups. Like what is it that you do? Like what do you trade, and what's your style?
Basically, I came up with something called the Foos 4, which is basically just 4 different trading patterns that I trade over and over again. And that's all has to do with swing trading. Almost all the trades that I look at, I'm looking at the daily chart as well as the. If you want to give me the control of the screen here, or at least a
Yeah.
screen share, I can show
All
you.
you got to do is go on the left side. There's a green button called screen share, and you just got to click it on the screen on your computer. Yep, I see it.
Okay, is that full screen or is that a?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what I look at, this is another thing I do. I run Foos TV every morning, so I run a live broadcast for about an hour or two, so you can actually see basically this screen as I'm trading. And with the Foos 4, it's basically 4 different swing trade patterns that I look at. For instance, this was ISR. This is one of my biggest trades earlier this year. In the beginning, March was actually my biggest month in trading I've ever had. I made about $60,000 to $70,000 that month, which is, for me that's abnormal. I don't make that much in a month at all. But what I look at, this is what you're going to call a gold pattern, which is one of the patterns that I trade. It's basically a stock that's been trading under $1 per share for 6 to 9 months. You can see this stock has been spiking up around $1 per share for quite a while now. And it's been continually battling with this range here at about $1, and $1 per share. A lot of people, you'll hear on Twitter, at least we call it, the dollar roll. Like, oh shit, we got a dollar roll coming up. Especially if it's a gold pattern. I call it a gold pattern only if it's been consolidating under $1 for 6 to 9 months. And once it breaks out over that dollar area, there's a lot of upside potential. Typically, the stock runs at least 100%. Not every time, obviously, but a lot of the best gold patterns that you look at will double or triple within that break. So I actually got long several times in ISR trying to anticipate this before that we actually had this big spike here.
Yep.
I got in, I think, like right here. I stopped out right here. I think I got in again right here and then stopped out. So I think I got in twice and trying to anticipate this. I'm very impatient with holding on to stocks. One of the biggest things about me in trading is keeping your portfolio flat or forward. I don't like having drawdowns in my account. If you have drawdowns in your account, then you got to make up for those losses. I'd rather cut my loss extremely short, and then I can buy back into that stock if I want to. But I don't like risking having that stock continue to fall on me if I'm deciding to be like, okay, maybe this will bounce back up, but maybe it'll keep going down. I don't want to hold that stock if it keeps going down. I'd rather just get out, and if it comes back up, I can rebuy that position. So, I tried to buy into ISR twice and stopped out for losses before this actually made its final move. And once it finally broke over that dollar mark, I think I even sold here in like the 120s, right around here, and then it came back down, and I bought again as it looked like it was breaking out highs, and this thing just absolutely exploded up to 375 within 2 days. So me and my students, we made a crap load of money. I think between this stock and several other trades that I was making, I made about $25,000 in 4 days. So this was a gold pattern. One of the things that I teach in the Foos 4 strategy, and that's just one of them. And this is my primary kind of swing trading stuff. But I've adapted a lot more into day trading lately. Trying to have the patience to hold on to a stock for that long is difficult because also there's so many day traders out there nowadays that the intraday movements are so random and all over the place that it's difficult to hold a stock.
It's getting a little bit harder. There's more choppiness.
You're trying to hold on to a stock, and you'll be up, and then next thing you know, you're going to be in a losing position. You're like, well, shit, is it going to go back up, or I'm going to continue to lose here? Then you sell it for a loss, and next thing you know, it's back up, 50%, all in one day. So it's very difficult to continue to swing trade like I used to. Like back in 2005, 2006, I didn't even wake up for the stock market opens because I wasn't scared, about what the market might do. After 2008, that's when I kind of, really got into more day trading and active trading because, the market was haywire. There would be days where the market would gap open 400 points before the stock market opened, and if you weren't up and ready to, protect yourself, you could lose a shitload of money. So prior to 2008, that didn't even exist for me, at least, because I only traded since 2005. So going through all these learning experiences definitely changed my mentality and the way that I've traded. Nowadays, I still look for that swing trade, but I'm much more active in day trading as of late because that's just the way the market is, and that's what the lay of the land is. You have to understand how to day trade.
So you trade small cap stocks typically. Do you trade the same stocks when you day trade that you do when you swing trade, or you've got a different style? Because one of the things I noticed, so when I met you first, I was also a small cap trader. I traded the $1, $2 stocks, and all that fun stuff. And then I left it. I did that for years, and then I changed that strategy. I stopped trading small cap stocks because I was a swing trader. The small cap stocks made a lot of sense because you could get the 20, 30, 40% gains.
Yeah.
But when you're a day trader, the small cap stocks, when they're not breaking out, there's no range in them, so you can't really day trade it. So when you day trade, like I like to trade the momentum names like Tesla or GoPro or MBLY, because those little suckers, they move $5, $10 in a day. And
if you're 1,000 shares.
1,000 shares, all you need is a couple bucks.
Yeah. So I've been trading that kind of stuff a lot more lately. I've traded GoPro. I traded GoPro today and actually got freaking screwed out of this thing. I was getting ready to go to the gym, and I'm sitting here watching GoPro blow up here. I'm like, all right, this is. I'm looking at it, and it's like up at like freaking. Where are we at? $70-something per share, and it was up at $72.50 right out of the gates on earnings, and then it was down at $68.50, and I'm sitting here thinking like, maybe I should just load up 1,000 shares real quick here right before I'm heading to the gym, and then all of a sudden I missed the trigger there. I didn't pull the trigger, and then it's at 74. It comes back down, and I'm looking at it here, and at this point, right about here, I'm thinking, okay, if this breaks out over 72, it's going to hit 74 and potentially just break out there and rip it to the upside. So I actually got long at 71.80. Right here for 1,000 shares, and it actually did rip right here. I continued to grind this out, and it almost hit up 74. I wanted to break 74 and blow up to the upside, and at the same time, I'm sitting here waiting to go to the gym because I know I got to do this webinar here tonight. And then next thing you know, it just eats shit on me. I sell it for a $500 loss. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to the gym. I come back, and this thing's all the way up at freaking $78 per share. So
one of the things with freaking GoPro, and then also trading after hours earnings, if you have size, you always get shaken out, because anytime guys that you trade a lot of size, when you get like these big spikes, like look at GoPro, it spiked up huge, like 77, and then the next candle it spiked down $4 freaking on a 1 minute chart. If you have 1,000 shares, you're just so so reactive to the movement of your P&L. And as most traders know, if you are reactive to your P&L versus what's going on in the chart, you just get totally screwed, and it becomes impossible to trade. And
and that's another thing. As my portfolio gets larger, it's becoming harder to actually focus on the chart rather than me just looking at the P&L, because I look at, I look at what my P&L is over here, and then I'm looking at the chart, but my position size gets bigger, and then it's just it's harder to focus on the actual trade when you're focused on this P&L because your position size is so large. So it definitely gets more difficult mentally once your position size gets larger because you're seeing a bigger number. And if you see that bigger number go into the red, that's when it starts to get scary, and then you kind of panic and get out of those positions. That's what I did with GoPro. I didn't know if it was going to break out or if it was going to, just continue to drop. Especially with earnings after hours, you really never know what the hell the stock's going to do. So it's
really, really tricky, man. After hours, I do trade after hours once in a while, but I always go in, like I'll scale in a little bit. So I might go 300, 400, and then if I saw like a huge flag or something, I might go in bigger. Well, man, it's such a crapshoot sometimes, and you're right. Like, when your P&L is like moving around like $2,000-$3,000.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how much money you make in your life, I don't know. Like, I think when you lose or gain $2,000-$3,000, you feel so great or you feel so shitty, you can be a millionaire. And you know what? Like, I don't know, maybe it's an Indian thing, but when I'm down $2,000 on something, I'm like, I'm freaking suicidal sometimes. So like, I don't want to trade that type of size.
Yeah. Oh man, it's definitely, the stock market can be stressful. There's definitely good days and bad days. There's an episode of I forget what the TV show. It's with Kevin James, I think. And it's about the stock market, and it's basically just showing him as the UPS driver, and there's also a chart like going on the screen when the stock market's going up on the screen. He's like all happy saying hello to everyone, like, hey, how's it going? And the stock market's going down. He's flipping out and screaming at everybody. So it's definitely, mentally challenging game. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to be able to roll with the punches because there's going to be a lot of punches thrown at you as well.
So let me ask you this, because you're like a prime example of this. So I do everything. I do at least. I manage my account completely opposite of Cameron. So it might be an Indian thing, but I take the money out, my profits out every freaking week on Friday. I have to pay myself. It's like I like call it payday. I'm like, it's payday. It's payday, and I take it out. So if I make 20,000 or 10,000, I take it out. But one of the things I noticed with Cameron is that when I first started talking to him, he had like 40 grand in his account, and then we were talking last week, and he's like talking about buying a house, and I'm like, well, houses in San Diego are, I mean, you're gonna spend $2-3 million, and I'm like, where do you even get a down payment for something like that? I mean, it's gonna be like 500 grand. He's like, oh no, I mean, I get like 380 grand in my trading account. So he's never taken it out. Where like I take it out every week, he's actually just let his build and build and build and build, and it's piling up. So how do you move the needle on that? Because now all of a sudden your position sizes have to get bigger and bigger incrementally. How are you managing all that?
Yeah, I mean that's what my model portfolio is based on. What I teach is to only put about 10% of your portfolio into your account. But that's when when you're trading not on margin. This is if you're trading on cash. I know you trade on margin a lot, or that's what we also sell in the hedge fund is basically trading on margin, so you have buying power.
Margined out, baby, all the time.
Yeah. So it kind of depends. Right now I trade with about 300K in my account. But I've spent a lot of money too on my trading money too. This is just building it up over years. But and I really only consider myself a part-time trader because I really only trade the opens for 1 to 2 hours, and then I'm done until the close. I'm not sitting there hacking it out the entire day trying to scalp anything I can. I basically just trade the patterns in the morning. That's when I run Foos TV. And then I'm basically maybe even done for the day, or I'll come back for the close. But I'm really only a part-time trader, and fortunately for me, I also run a successful business that can support my lifestyle and support me as well. But I also make good money trading. Like I bought my Maserati with trading profits, so that's being all paid for with money that I make in the stock market. It's just I don't fully rely on trading. But that's the thing is almost all my students have a job. Everyone's just kind of a part-time trader that's in my chat room. So they all have full-time jobs. For most of them, they're either trading at work, or whatever. And that's kind of like me as well. I'm trading part-time, but I also have a full-time business that I run.
Sure.
So
So, hey, let me ask you this because I think that's really important. So, a lot of people think that when you don't trade the full day, it's because you're lazy and you're out partying or working out, and we may be doing those things, but there's a reason that we don't trade the full day. Like, I also don't like trading the full day. I like going to the beach during lunchtime or stuff like that, and people get angry. They think that you're lazy, like you're just living this awesome life. But there's a reason behind it that we actually don't trade the full day. Like, why is it that you trade the morning and then you go and work out and do your stuff and then come back?
Uh, basically, because the middle of the day, there are opportunities there, but the likelihood of you taking full advantage of those, there's much less movement during the middle of the day. When you get in the morning session, within like the first 15 minutes, these are what I call F1 patterns. That's basically within the first 15 minutes, that's when you find these triggers, and they make their run, and they might only last 30 minutes to an hour for those runs. After that, you get in, get out, you could be done for the day. And a lot of the times, I should just be done within the first 30 minutes. I can make a couple grand, $5,000 within 30 minutes, and then I stick around and keep trading, and next thing you know, I'm down to like $2,500 in profits. I'm like, should have just freaking walked away and locked in his profits, because the middle of the day, there's a lot less action, and it's very easy to overtrade in the middle of the day because you're just sitting there bored, and you're staring at a computer screen, and you feel like you should be doing something, which a lot of times you shouldn't. There's no opportunity there. If there's not the exact right setup that you're looking for, you should either walk away or just monitor it. But if you sit at your computer, the more temptation you're going to have just to make a trade just because you're bored. So the thing,
We are the king of boredom trades. It's happened. I mean, since I've known you, we both, when we stayed during the middle of the day, there's something me and Cameron do, and sometimes you can egg somebody on, like, oh man, check this out, check this out. And before you know it,
talking about ideas, and you're like, all right,
I got to do it. So guys, there is a structure to the market that's really important to understand. That in the morning, stocks make a move based on PR earnings, market gaps, whatever it might be, but that's where the volatility is. But that first 30 minutes of the day is about price discovery. So stocks can travel exponential movements at the open, and it's about price discovery. A stock is trying to figure out where it's supposed to be. Then what happens after that first, say, hour of the trading day is stocks do something totally different. Now they've made their initial move. In the middle of the day, it's about either a stock doing a retracement as people take profits, or a stock consolidates because it's found its equilibrium. And so in the middle of the day, you'll find this dead action or a retracement. And then what typically happens, and I notice it's around 2 o'clock. I don't know if that's you have found a different time. I know it's around 2 o'clock. Then a stock makes a decision on what's going to happen, and you may break high of days, or you just kind of fade off and do what you're doing. But then that end of the day, you get the action again of where a stock finally decides what it's going to be, and so you have those 3 phases of the day. And for me, as a day trader, each one requires a different setup. So a lot of people trade like, say, flags or flat top breakouts or whatever, but at the open, you don't trade those because they don't come about. The action is too quick. You have to have very specific setups that you trade at the open. So like I trade ORBs, that's called the opening range breakout, which Cameron also trades. That's like something that you would get into within the first 5-10 minutes of the day. Then you have very specific setups that you would trade middle of the day, but those ones kind of stink because the stock is either grinding or it's fading. And so for like people like me and Cameron that typically go long, there's not much to do. And then end of the day, you have a whole different measure of setups, which is like you might have a stock that's been consolidating all day, or you might have a stock that's about to crack and have a late day fade. So you have 2 or 3 different setups that you've got to do. So it's very important to segregate your day. And so when you see, like if you're in somebody's chat room or something like that, and you see them just bail out, most of the time it's not because they're out like having fun and meeting a bunch of hot chicks. In Cameron's case, that's probably the case, probably true. For me, I live with a bunch of dudes. That's not going to happen as much. But I'm guessing in Cameron's case, this is true, as he seems to be a lot bigger ladies' man than I am.
But just to reiterate what you're saying, that's exactly how I have a second training course that's all about intraday charting and how to read it, and I divide it up into 3 sections. I call it between, and the patterns are called F1, F2, or F3. F1s are my primary focus of trading. F2s, that's the middle of the day. I don't really like trading those. There are opportunities there, but their reliability and the probability that those breakouts are going to work are much less. Then F3, that's when you finally have the F3 breakouts into the close, which a lot of times when those break out into the close, you might see a gap open on those into the following session as well. So it's the same exact thing. What you said is what I teach as well, is there's 3 different parts of the day: opening, middle, sucks. Sometimes there's opportunities there, but it's the opening and the close that are basically the primary areas of focus to trade with.
Do you ever feel the pressure to trade like more because you got a chat room of people that want to?
Yeah, it's definitely it's changed over the
I
years.
feel you tune it out better than I do. Like you're still able to, like you feel it, but you can still separate it and just go.
Yeah,
I get sucked in sometimes when I don't want to be.
yeah. No, I mean, sometimes I'll just be there because I'm bored. And sometimes trading is boring. You're just sitting here. Especially I work at home by myself, so sometimes I ain't got shit else to do. I guess I'll just hang out in the chat room and bullshit with my students. But at the other same time, I'll either go work out during the middle of the session or go get a run in, or I'll run down to the coffee shop and hang out there for a little bit. But the only reason why, if I walk away from the trading room and I'm here, it's because it's either the middle of the session or there's just not that many opportunities going on, or it's because I'm having a bad day. And a lot of times, if I have a bad day, I don't necessarily feel the need that I need to come back and try to make that money back. And that's what a lot of people get into, is a downward spiral where they start making revenge trades just to try to make up. There, he raising his hand. Just to try to make that money back because they feel the need to do that. For me, a lot of times, if I have a bad morning session, I'll maybe even just call it a day. Be like, all right, you guys, I'm just not feeling it today. The trades aren't rolling. Sometimes the best thing you do is just walk away, or you might just continue to dig that hole even deeper. And the best thing about trading, especially if you close out all your positions overnight, you can wake up, have a brand new day. There's a brand new set of opportunities just to reset, basically hit the reset button and start over. So sometimes I feel bad about leaving, but other times it's like I might help you guys lose more money if I'm here. So I'm going to walk away. I lost some money, so I'm calling it quits, and I'm done for the day. There's always tomorrow and the next day after that. So, yeah, but when you have people paying you for your service, there's definitely that pressure there that you're expected to be there, and you're expected to help them out.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
Not like sucks. Like I enjoy it, but I do feel like sometimes I want to do well for everybody. Like I don't, like for me, if I lose $2,000, like I don't really care per se, but I do care because you cost other people money, and so that sucks.
Yeah.
So you make it back, and so like there's trading patterns, and then there's like the personal psychology of individual traders that all traders go through of wanting to make money back, and then us as business owners, we have this second layer to it, which is that we have to perform, otherwise we won't have a business. And so you have that need to always want to go and perform. And I stepped away last Monday because I lost like $3,000 like at the Open, and I kept sneaking back like, man, I should make this back for everybody. And it took like all my willpower to not do it, because for me at least, I don't know how it is about you, but if I start off slow, I very rarely make a comeback, I very rarely. So my $3,000 loss could turn into a $10,000 loss if I stay, because I never make the comeback. Once you make 3 or 4 bad trades in a row, it means your game is off.
You're screwed up mentally. If I start out the day in the red, I'm most likely going to be hesitant and not confident to go into the trades that I need to with confidence after that. So if I start off, exactly like you said, if I start off with 3 losing trades in a row, I'm like, all right, shit ain't rolling today. I'm done. So it definitely affects how you start your morning, how the rest of your day is going to go. And it's basically a 50-50 chance. And, my trades, I lose 50% of the time. Every trade I make is either a win or loss. My win ratio is only about 51%. But the only reason I'm able to win is because I do cut my losses short, extremely short. And when I have a good winner, I either take quick profits or sometimes I'll have a really big winner and let it ride it out. But I'm really only a 50-50 chance trader. It's just money management that allows me to make money over the long haul.
So, guys, it's really, really important to understand. So there are chart patterns that you play, and then every trader has personal patterns that are even more important, which means there are some people that can lose, and then they make the comeback. And then there are some people that lose, and then it turns into a downward spiral. So, like for both me and Cameron, what happens, our personal pattern is that if we start off slow and have to leave. Now, I find that's true with most traders. Now, but it's important to understand your personal patterns. Like Mary Beth, she always loses like $1,000, $2,000 in the morning because she's feeling her way out, and then she makes it all back. She starts going bigger and bigger and bigger, and she finds her way. But that's her personal pattern. She always loses in the morning. I've never seen a day where she doesn't lose in the morning. But it's because she's testing things out. She's okay because her personal pattern and her willpower is a little bit different. She has a bigger tolerance for risk, and so she'll take $1,000 loss or $2,000 just to see how a stock is acting, so that at some point later in the day she might load up 10, 20,000 shares of something and then just crush it, and she'll make back that 2,000 and then make 2,000 profit. And she'll end up with 2,000, but she's okay with that wild swing where I can't stomach that, and so I have to leave. So it's really important, guys, to understand your personal patterns. I have another thing that causes me losses too is that I don't know. Well, you're on West Coast, but when I'm on the East Coast, I work out in the morning at 5 a.m. So I got to get up at 4:30. So if I get like a really good pump. Like I'm talking like a pump. When you get that like awesome pump where you do like 100 pull-ups and you got dips going and like you're just like veins are popping out of your arms.
Yeah, you feel great, dude.
And you're like sitting there flexing in the mirror like, look at me. Every time I do that, I get really pumped up. Like I go into the open all giddy because I got all this blood flowing, and I had like 3 cups of coffee because I woke up so early.
Yeah.
And so right off the bat, because I got this freaking pump going, I'll literally, my students and subscribers will tell me, I'll sit there and do this to them. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like and start flexing because I'm like so excited. I always lose. I'm too fucking pumped up. Like I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I go like. I'm all in at the open on some bullshit stock that nobody's ever heard of, and then I lose because I got too much of a pump.
That's hilarious. But yeah, no, trading is all about having a fucking just a calm demeanor. I feel like you can't react to a lot of different things. You have to just be looking at the focus on the chart pattern rather than focus on how much money you're going to lose. You got to focus on what your strategy is and how you're going to execute that trade. But as far as waking up in the morning, for me, I get up. The market opens here at 6:30 in the morning. My alarm goes off at 5:45, and I'm pissed off as fuck every morning because I look at my clock and all I want to do is go back to sleep. So I've been waking up this early for like 10 years, and it still sucks every time. And by the time I'm
terrible, I hate West Coast.
Oh, it's awful, dude. But by the time I'm about ready to run Foos TV, it's like 6:25, and I'm still like half is talking in the microphone. But I do it every day. You just gotta wake up and grind it out. But it's like when I was in Miami, and we were out 3 in the morning, and I was still able to wake up and be like, it's 9:30. I could wake up like this and still be able to work. But here, I can't even go out during the week at all. I went out last Thursday. I was just gonna go have a couple drinks, and then next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. and I'm still partying. And so obviously I didn't show up for work on Friday because that's in 3 hours. So at West Coast, you literally can't do anything to the week, which sucks. The only good thing is that you get the stock market closed at 1 o'clock. You have the rest of the day go do whatever. Sometimes I'll take my boat out during the summer, during the week at like 2 o'clock, but everybody else is at work and just having a great time. But waking up in the morning, like I've seriously considered moving East Coast just for that fact because it's awful every time.
I got two guys in my chat room, Chris Kuiperman and Michael Chesna. They live in LA, and they got the motto because West Coast trading sounds great on paper. When I went to California for 3 months last winter, instead of go to Costa Rica, I just went to California because I needed better internet access. So I was running all those webinars. It sounded great. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be done at 1. I'm going to go to the gym. Then I'm going to go out, and I'm going to do all this shit. And it never happens because you're so tired by 1 p.m. because I wasn't going to bed.
You want to go to sleep, dude.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bed at 9 p.m. so I could wake up at 5.
I have sunlight simulators on both sides of my computer now to try to keep me awake during the day. I'll show you both of these here. I have this one right here and this one right here. These are sunlight simulators to try to keep me awake because by 1 p.m., even by 10 a.m., all I want to do is go back to sleep because it's so difficult to try to frickin'.
Oh yeah. So these guys told me they got a motto that West Coast traders do: you booze, you lose. You lose.
Yeah.
No matter what. And it happened when I was in California. We went to Santa Barbara for a while, and then I was with you for a while. And so obviously, if I'm with you, we're going to be boozing.
Yeah.
And in Santa Barbara's a college town full of freaking chicks. It's all chicks. And obviously, you get a little carried away in the nightlife. And it was no matter what, you booze,
you lose.
Because
if I go out during the week, I don't show up the next day. It's pretty much hands down is how it goes. I don't even try. I used to when I was young. When I moved down to San Diego in 2008. So I think I was like 24, maybe 23. I don't even remember. 24, 24. Yeah, I could go out. Like I used to go out on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I first moved down here. Now it's like I don't even like Thursday. Like sounds like a really bad idea. Like I try not to. I just went out on last Thursday, so I can't say that. But I didn't intend to. I intended to only have 1 or 2 drinks, and then shit got out of hand. But yeah, I can't hack it anymore.
You booze, you lose.
You booze, you lose.
You know what? When I'm in Detroit, man, I'll freaking even if I don't go out, I might watch Netflix till fucking 3, 4 in the morning because I only gotta wake up at 9.
Yeah, see, for you can be up at 3 in the morning, and you're still like, that's basically you going to sleep at 3 in the morning is me going to sleep at midnight. Because I go to sleep at midnight to 1 a.m. every night. So that's like basically you going to sleep at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. every night. So
let me ask you this. This is I noticed this with some of my new tricks. What do you think out of your students? What is the number one thing that's holding them back, like holds people back from success?
The number one thing that holds them back from success is the number one thing that holds back anyone from success, and that's not going through the proper training or not setting themselves up for success. They're setting themselves up for failure. So a lot of people come into my website and they see my training stuff, and the first thing they see is got to get started with your education, and they see that it costs money and they don't want to spend money. And so they just go straight in the chat room, and a lot of people come in and just start asking all these dumb questions, and I'm like, all right, this guy's obviously doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He hasn't gone through any training. He doesn't know anything about the stock market. So It's like, what are you doing in here, man? Why are you even trying? It's like going into a really important college exam without even studying and just being like, screw it, I'll just go take this test, find out, see how it goes. Like, why? What the fuck are you thinking? You have to go study to be good at anything. If you want to be a good ball player, you have to, practice. And that's the biggest thing that hold back my students from making money is a lot of people don't go through my training program first, and they think that they're just going to come into the chat room and start making money. And a lot of people, I have an alerts. It's called Foos Alerts. I send out an alert anytime I make a trade, anytime, I call it out live on Foos TV saying, hey, I just bought this stock at this price. But if you're sitting there waiting for my alerts, you're late to the game, you're trying to trail what I do, which, isn't impossible to do, but if you really want to learn how to trade stocks and actually make money and be successful over the long run, you need to be prepared to make these decisions for yourself rather than relying on me or Kunal for those decisions. You have to learn the rules of the game, how to follow them, and just learn how to be a trader. You can't just rely on somebody else. So the number one reason why people fail is that they're not educated, they don't go through the proper training, and they just dive into the stock market without knowing what they're doing. And that's what I did in the beginning too. I just was like, screw it, I'll just start trading. Like the first trade I ever made was some 50-cent stock. I don't even know why I bought it. I just found it somehow through E-Trade and I bought it, and I obviously lost money on it. But that's how I got started. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and it took me about 3 years or so before I ever started consistently making money. Basically just because for one, I didn't have any kind of formal education in trading.
I lost for 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah. And
I mean, I had periods where I made money, but it wasn't.
You don't make it consistently. You lose it. You make it, and you're like, then you get a big head, and you think you know what you're doing, and then you go blow it all because you try to go big on some trade or like. I remember I made a bunch of money on something, and then I got into this company called Games and Flicks, which was supposed to be like the next Netflix for like video games and shit. And I think I lost about 50% of my portfolio because I went all in on it, and it was like a 0.005 cent stock.
Shit.
That's another thing. A lot of people get into penny stocks, and I don't necessarily trade penny stocks. I promote that keyword only for the fact of SEO, of which my SEO is complete dog shit, so I don't even know why I say penny stocks. But it's a highly searched term that a lot of people search for, and I'm looking for traffic. I run a business. But I don't necessarily really trade penny stocks all that often. I don't like to trade OTC stocks. I really only trade stocks that are on the NASDAQ, Amex, and New York Stock Exchange. Occasionally trade, stocks that are around 50 cents to $1, but I'll never trade anything that's, 0.005 crap, fucking any of that stuff. So I'm not a penny stock trader as much as people might think I am.
Yeah, I see you trade all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
So that's the same type of thing. So for me, I had $500, and then I turned it into $50,000 because it was the freaking .com boom. .com boom, everybody made money. I mean, it was insanity. And I lost my first bankroll. This is how stupid I am, because in the .com boom, you don't have to have any risk management or have to have any trading skills. You just have to find the right tech stock, and then you just ride it. So I made all this money, and I wrote down, this is how stupid I was as I was 19 years old. I wrote down Amazon for almost 200 points. Like, think about that. How stupid somebody's got to be to ride something back 200 points. You were so conditioned that, like, if something pulled back, it would just bounce back up.
It's going to go up for sure.
And Amazon actually went back. It went down to $4, I believe, or $2 or $4. So I guess getting out 200 was okay. But, I mean, I had lost my whole bankroll at that point anyways. And that shit happened all the time. So I'd make the money back. I started with $2,000, and I made a bunch of money again. And then I lost my whole fucking bankroll on this stock called Global Crossing, which at this point the tech bust had already it was busted. And I bought this company called Global Crossing at $5 because their CEO was online going, "Oh my God, like, we've got 3 billion miles of undersea fiber optic cables." And I'm thinking, like, that's fucking awesome. 3 billion is a big number. Fiber optics, I don't know what the fuck that means. That sounds awesome. And he's on CNBC, like, what could go wrong? So then I bought it, and of course it went to $3, and I doubled up. And then it went to $2. So I doubled up, and it went to $1, and I was doubling up. And finally, I got a margin call, and then the stock did rebound a little bit later, but I was margin called out. And at that point, I was so screwed because I had student loans out. So, at Michigan State, my parents, my dad was giving me cash to pay my tuition. And I took the cash and I traded with it. And then I took student loans out for Michigan State. And it's like, I was so fucked because I had to tell my parents what I did. My dad is like, Indian guy. Like, you know how Indian people are, man. They're freaking conservative. Like, white people, you can get away with shit. For all you youngsters that are white, man, white people can get away with shit. It's like, you impregnate a woman, awesome. Get arrested, good job, son. Boys will be boys. You talk to an Indian dad about that stuff, and it's like, hey, I got arrested.
You're out of the family, bro.
I lost money in the stock market. All of a sudden, it's like, what? What do you mean? You are not an engineer? And it was like, I ruined my dad's life. It was so crazy, man. He didn't speak to me for like a year.
Proud, kid.
He didn't speak to me for a year, and once he found out I was an engineering student, it was over. But that's the type of stuff that, guys, everybody goes through. It's like, I thought back then it was the rite of passage because there was no social media, there were no classes, none of that stuff. Like now, yeah, you're gonna go through some lumps, but things are different because you have you can go to a place like Faust Alerts or Bulls on Wall Street or Investors Live or wherever, and you'll pick up a great product, but you'll have a support system, you'll have education, all of this stuff, and you didn't have that before. Like when I was trading and first starting off, I was on Yahoo Finance message boards. Like Cameron was like the first person I had met that actually was my age that actually made money, and it freaking blew my mind. Like I was like, oh my God, there's another one out there. I'm not the only one. Like it was like seeing a Martian.
Yeah, no, it's different nowadays. When I first started trading, I didn't really have. There's that website, 3 Stocks on Fire, where they kind of gave out alerts, but they didn't have like a training program or anything. And that's what we do now. Is basically the goal. The only reason why I have my website is to try to minimize the time it took for me to actually learn how to make money, and cut that time into a very small fraction for people that are interested in learning my strategy. So before, when I was learning, and that's why we are in the position that we are now to be able to teach people, is because we've been through the shit. We've been through fucking manic episodes of the stock market where we lost everything, and we've been doing it, and it was good because we were young and we were able to recover from those losses. A lot of people that are sign up for my website are say 30 to 35 years old. They don't have 3 years to screw around and try to figure out how to trade the stocks. So it's important that if you actually want to learn my system or even Kunal's system, that you do it the right way by actually going through the educational process, or you are going to do the same exact thing that me and you did, is just screw around and lose our money until we finally either give up or figure it out and keep putting money into the stock market until you actually start figuring out in your head that you can't screw around, you need to find a system and stick to it. So it's really important that you go through some sort of training before you actually even begin to think about trading anything.
I think that's important. I think the other thing that screws with people is they have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
They think that they join a chat room, or even if you take a class, that you have the right to go out and make $1 million. Well, I'll tell you, somebody that's made millions of dollars, that fucking shit is hard, because this is like what we do. Like we're having, like right now, me and Cameron are, we're having a conversation, we're having fun, but like you don't see the back end of what we do, which is the studying and honing our techniques and all of that stuff. Like what we do is a job. It's a profession. It's no different than being a doctor or a lawyer or anybody, the president of the United States, whatever it might be. This is a job. It's a profession. And so, you know, if Cameron wanted to be a doctor, what would he have to do? He'd have to go to med school. He'd have to study for years. He'd have to spend an X amount of money on education, and he would have to take some lumps. There would be hard times where he would think, why am I studying so much to be a doctor? Like, this is so hard. I have to sacrifice everything. And trading is no different. It's a job. It's a profession. You don't have the right to trade. It's a privilege. To be a professional day trader is a privilege, and you every day got to go out and get it. Like, you every day got to go out and prove yourself. You got to go out and get it. You don't, just because you take a class or you join a chat room doesn't mean that you are owed anything. You got to go out and be on the attack all the time, which means, you know, not just your trading skills, but your mental, your physical well-being. All of that comes into play. Like, you'll see, like, I notice, like, whether it's Cameron or Investors Live or all the great traders I know, exercise all the time. Like, they eat right all the time, minus one day a week when they're blacked out drunk. But, you know, they're making great decisions about their body, mind, everything all the time. Like, it's not just like we just wake up and do shit. I mean, we're up really working, and I think trading's a job, and I think people have unrealistic expectations that they're just going to buy something or take something and boom, you have the right to earn money. And it doesn't work like that. You have the right to get access to an amazing education and an amazing teacher, but you still got to go out and participate and do what you got to do. And Cameron will tell you, like, Cameron's a world-class partier. I've been with him. But 6 days of the week, he's exercising, he's eating salads. Yeah, he's eating salads and fucking chicken breasts all day. Like, it's not as fun as you would think it is. It is fun, but
no, trying to keep and maintain a diet is not fun at all. It's kind of like learning how to trade. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to maintain a diet and exercise regimen. It's just like trading. You have to have discipline to follow the rules of the game, study, and keep up with that actual strategy. That's the same thing with being able, I think being part of being a good trader is just having the discipline to be on some kind of routine and have the discipline to stick to that. So biggest reason, what I always tell people when I do webinars as well, is that the only reason why people lose money in the stock market is because they chose to lose. Anytime you go into a losing position, you have that option to sell that stock and get out of that position. The only reason why people lose money is because they choose not to cut their loss short, and then the stock continues to drop down, and then they're messaging me or you like, hey, what do I do with the stock? Like, I don't know what the fuck to do with that thing. Like, I have no idea what any stock to do at any time. So you went into a losing position, and you chose to lose. So everyone has that option to choose not to lose. So you have to be disciplined enough to say, no, this is not working. I can either rebuy this stock, or I'm going to sell this stock and go put it into something else that actually looks like it's working now. But once you're into your losing position, you got to get out. And that's the same thing with, you know, working out or eating right. You have to, you know, have that discipline to say, no, I'm not going to eat this McDonald's burger. I'm going to eat this salad over here, because you want that. You want to get a nice body. And the same thing with trading. You're going to sell that stock for a small loss because you don't want to lose money. You want to be successful at the stock market. So they kind of go hand in hand with having the discipline to, you know, maintain a healthy lifestyle, working out, as well as being a successful stock trader. It all takes discipline to do all that.
So that's the big question, Cameron. How did you get your six-pack abs, and are you willing to show everybody? Are you willing to show these good folks? I mean, there's 400 people in here, and they all want to know how you get those six-pack abs. Because I know I work out all the time, but I do not have six-pack or eight-pack abdominals like Cameron.
I mean, it comes in. I tell you what, it's easy to get a six pack. What's hard is maintaining that. So I'll go in spurts where I'll work my ass off in the gym and eat like a freaking freak, like super healthy shit, and I'll get to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm like set right now, and then I'll go party and I'll be too hungover to work out and eat right, and then I'll lose it. Like I just came back from Bali and Tokyo. I was there for 2 weeks and I tried to work out there, and I was with like a bunch of other surfer buddies and stuff, and I was eating nasi goreng the whole time, which is like fried rice and fried egg and stuff. So now I'm trying to rebuild what I lost over 2 weeks. So if you don't maintain, it's all about maintenance. If you don't maintain, if you go on vacation for 2 weeks, speaking of, we're going to Costa Rica, we're going to be working out the whole time because I've been working my ass off for the last 3 weeks to try to make up for my 2 week trip to Bali, just to try to get back to where I was. So, uh, it's mainly, first of all, you got to work your ass off in the gym. You can't just go to the gym and like do curls and like lift weights. You have to get your heart rate pumping. You have to be sweating. And I do yoga a lot. I do yoga 2 to 4 times a week. I do hot yoga, and that's a big part of about getting lean. You sweat more than any other workout that you do. And the most important part is just diet. If you're not eating right, and you're eating, breads and pastas and stuff, that shit's like horrible for your body, and it just blows up your blood sugar and glucose levels, and then this ends up turning into fat. So it's really about being on maintaining a disciplined diet and consistently in the gym is what it's all about. So, I mean, it's kind of
And
self-explanatory,
I think a lot of the rules have changed. Like I notice a lot of people they're like always talking about like doing like heavy weights and like bench presses and like all that stuff like is kind of bullshit. Like you really got to go out and work. Like you don't have to sit there and that old school way of like doing 3 sets of one exercise and taking a 2 minute rest.
Yeah, yeah.
These really heavy weights. That's not really what makes you like all ripped and stuff. Like that's like what makes you into a monster. But like you
Yeah,
don't get
it's
ripped.
like bodybuilder stuff. I mean, I've tried so many different workouts. The best shape I've ever been in, I was doing a program called the Horseman Training Program, which is actually designed by Navy SEALs, and I was doing it with my buddy. He actually moved to New York, so if you don't have a workout partner to do it, it's too hard of a program to actually like be self-disciplined enough to do it yourself. You have to have somebody else there to do it with you. So like I weigh 185 right now. I weighed 175, and I was meal prepping, so I was prepping all my meals every week. Like I'd make everything on Sunday, and I'd have the whole entire week's meals planned out in little Tupperware boxes. And I only weighed 175, but I was the strongest I've ever been, and I was fucking lean and jacked as fuck. So I was doing this extreme program, but maintaining that is extremely
It
difficult.
makes
So
you
now
miserable. It's not worth it.
it's extremely hard, dude. Like freaking, I got a lot of like fitness model like girlfriends and dude guys that I know that do that, and they're like on such an intense program that it's just like a lot of them end up in the hospital after their competition because they're so like malnourished from not eating and trying to get as lean as possible and stuff. So a lot of that stuff isn't healthy for like those fitness models. They do go to the complete extreme that's unnecessary because they're trying to do something better than the next person until somebody's going to freaking kill themselves because they're so malnourished. But right now, I basically just I do a mix of yoga, a mix of that Navy SEAL training program that I used to do.
So what
And
goes on? So you told me. So guys, let me tell you something. So Cameron, I ask fitness tips from Cameron. So like I'm a fat ass, meaning that for years I had a desk job and I was trying to be a trader. So and then when I finally became a trader, I was always sitting down, and I was like 210 pounds at one point. Because I was drinking, as a trader, the one thing all traders, they feel the need to do, I feel the need to do it every day. I don't, but is get drunk because trading is so freaking difficult. Like, it's so difficult. The only thing you want to do at the end of the day is get drunk and eat. For me, I had two things: get drunk and eat pizza. Like that's all I could think about when I first started trading full time because I was losing money, making money. It was so stressful. And Cameron would tell me, I'd ask him all the tips on fitness. And Cameron, like at this time, CrossFit was like just starting to pick up, and nobody really knew about CrossFit. So I asked I asked Cameron about CrossFit, and he goes, CrossFit's for pussies. I did it. He goes, I did it, and it was too easy, so I'm doing this Navy SEAL stuff now. And so he's been doing this Navy SEAL workout. I tried one, and I was like, but give me an idea, what goes on in a Navy SEAL workout here that you're doing?
It's a combination of CrossFit and I forget what the name of the other thing is called. This guy named Jim Jones. It's like a combination of 3 different kinds of workout of mountain workouts. But it's kind of like CrossFit workouts. There's a lot of Olympic lifting. But a CrossFit workout sometimes will only be 20 to 30 minutes long. These workouts will last you about an hour to an hour and a half long. So it's a lot different. I'm trying to think of an example of one right now. This one is there's one called Only Gangsters Have to Bang Hammers. This is probably one of my favorite workouts. This is like a high intensity, high rep thing. So basically what you would do is you go from 10 up to 100 down to 10 again. And how that works, you do 10 pull-ups, 20 handstand push-ups, 30 overhead squats with the bar, 40 jumping lunges, 50 or 500-meter row, and then it goes to I think 60 ball squats where you're squatting with a ball, medicine ball, throwing it up in the air, 70 deadlifts at I think 100 pounds, 80 swimmers where you're swimming on your stomach with your feet elevated and your arms elevated, and you're doing 80 reps of that. And you do 90 sit-ups, then you do 100 push-ups, then you do 90 flutter kicks, then you do 80 mountain climbers where you're on your hands and knees in a push-up position, but your feet are traveling back and forth. And then from there you do 70 push press at 95 pounds, and then it's 60 kettlebell swings with the 45-pound or 55-pound kettlebell, and then it's 60 I can't remember what 60 is, 60 something, and then you do 500-meter row again, and you do 40 hang squat clean kettlebell push presses at 45 pounds, and then you do 30 I'm trying to think. I always have it. I have the program on my iPhone, so I look at it all the time. It's 30 box jumps, and then 20 one-arm push-ups, 10 on each side, and then I think it's 10 pull-ups again. So that's an example of one of the workouts. And with that, you'll burn about 1,000 calories, and it lasts about an hour long. Because a lot of times I'll wear a heart rate monitor, and I have my Garmin fitness watch here, which is actually dead at the moment. But it's important that a lot of times I'll track my workout on how many calories I burn, not by time.
Yeah.
I just look at it, I'm like, all right, I'm not even to 1,000 calories yet, so I got to keep going or do something else or run on the treadmill. But I've also been doing a lot of running lately. Like this morning, I ran to the coffee shop. That's a mile. Had my little breakfast thing, ran back. That's another mile. So I was 2 miles just this morning at about 7:30 a.m. And then I went to the gym today. It's about a mile away, so I ran to the gym, did my workout, and then ran back. So that was another mile. So that's about 4 miles today of just cardio plus going to the gym and working out. So it's
You're going to town. So a lot of people, and it's funny because every time I do a webinar, people get mad at me. So they say, hey, man, what about the chart patterns? What about the chart patterns? I say, yo, the chart patterns are all the same. Chart patterns are all the same. You know, one looks like it has a flat top. One looks like it has a flag. There's only like, in essence, really like 4 or 5 chart patterns. And none of them mean anything. To be a trader, you learn a chart pattern. That's the easy stuff. To be a real trader requires the discipline, the routines, the risk management, and all of that stuff that comes into play. I think that is, you know, that's a huge part of trading. So a couple of people ask me like what my favorite setup is. So I've got a few different setups. So I'll grab you a chart. But like for me, for example, like one of my favorite setups would be like Cameron, let me know when you see my screen.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite setups would be like a day-long consolidation play. So like this is something that I would trade. So this is a stock. I scan every day for stocks that make earnings or PRs. So like this stock gaps up like 50% or whatever. So a lot of people think, okay, if stock gaps up 50%, it means that it's too high to buy. But that doesn't really mean anything. Once a stock gaps up like that, there's going to be multiple setups within there. And so like all day I was basically just trading around this same stock. So the stock gapped up over here, and it's up 100% at this point once it's at 340. So I'm looking around and measuring some levels, and the stock is going sideways here. And so when it cracks this area, I take a short position, meaning I'm only looking for like say 10% gain. So I'm shorting a bunch of shares around $3.20. Not many. I had 8,000 shares total, and stock flushes down to the 280s. All right. So this would be shorting a stock based on the fact that it's up so high and it's probably a big turn. Now the thing is, you can't have a bias on these type of stocks because a stock like this has a very low float. So a float means how many shares are available to be traded. So a stock like this, my guess is it has maybe a 2-3 million share float. But it happens to be that this stock also had 25 million shares in volume. So, it's...
Are you trying to show a chart right now, or are you just looking at your...
Oh, is it not shown? Oh,
no,
hold on.
Or it's your like a watch list. I don't know if you're trying to show a chart or not.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I got it. Let me bring up my... hold on one sec. I got it. Google Hangouts is a little bit tricky. Let me bring up my TC2000 before everybody murders me.
Is the live chat on right now? Because I can't see any chat or anything.
Oh, yeah. There's a chat on the side where everybody's asking about your abs. They were asking for you to show.
I can't see any of the live chat. I haven't seen anything the whole time.
It might be because I'm the presenter. So, can you see my TC2000?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Maybe I'll log in.
You get a stock like this, right? It gaps up. So, I'm running different scans every day. I'm running different scans every day for stocks that are gapping up because it's earnings season right now. So it's earnings season. You want to look for stocks that are essentially, they are coming out with good earnings or they're coming out with PRs. Okay? So a stock like this, there's a few different things. So if stock gaps up like this, it's breaking over its key moving averages. The one thing I noticed is that 350 is like a huge level. 350 is like a huge level here. So you can see how it's tapped this area like a bunch of times. So when it taps that at the open and then it pops back down and it taps it again, you essentially have an intraday double top formation. And so once it cracks its first level of support, I short 8,000 shares of this thing, and essentially I made $2,500 or $3,000 or something on this as it spikes down into the 270s. Now the thing is, just because you shorted it once does not mean that you got to keep shorting it, because this is a stock that's in play. You can see its volumes at 35 million. The float on this stock is only 9.6 million, so the whole float is getting turned over. So that means this stock's just got a lot of juice. So as it floats down, pops up, and then it comes back down. I tried to short it again, thinking it's going to fade all day, and it wouldn't. So all of a sudden, this stock starts to peak over its moving averages and stuff like that. So, I had an inkling that this stock was going to go. Now, all of a sudden, this stock spikes up, and you start to see a flag here. And so, like, in the chat room, I alert everybody to, that this stock is about to break out. So, I flipped it from a short to long. And so, we added some shares at 323, thinking, look, I mean, that's just trend line break, just a very, very simple pattern. Now, that's the most simple pattern you can do. And when you can marry the fact that it had a gap because of a PR, it's got a huge amount of volume. It's got a huge amount of volume, and it's got a very, very low float. So what I consider a low float is anything less than 100 million shares. So, I add a few thousand shares of this bad boy into the 320s. And, the stock spikes up into resistance, and it stalls right at resistance, which is normal because it's extended going into resistance. It's going to fade off. And so it pulls back to support, and then it starts to rip again. So now how trend lines work is that the more times you test a level, the more explosive, a stock can be. And usually these moves will happen after 2 p.m. This is what we call like a day-long consolidation play. So, once a stock breaks out over here, like I had 5,000 shares again at 540, and then it's just about scaling out into the rip. And so that's essentially how day trading is done. Is that you have a basic setup on a big picture that this stock is a PR earnings breakout, and you're going to be trading the intraday patterns around there. You may get a short, you may get a long, and there were actually a few different plays. I should have longed this thing right there, and I'd actually been thinking about it, but because I was actually short, I was a little bit too stubborn on the fact that I actually needed to be long in this thing. So I covered here. I took a small loss, like 10 cents, but I needed to long it. And so those are the type of things that go on. Earnings season is an awesome time to make money because you will literally see all these you'll see all these runners. You'll see all these runners, and so this end of day play is something that I use all the time. Like something like an IQNT. It's the same type of deal. You'll see a stock that goes on these huge runs because of earnings, and then when you consolidate all day and just go sideways and you keep testing a level, once you get over that level, your risk will be really minimized because you can use your moving averages as a level of support, and then you can grab these quick type of trades. And you might have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 shares or something like that. You make $1,000 in a handful of minutes, and you're good to go. So that's one of the things that I do. So I run a scan, and it's a very easy scan. I run a scan every day during lunchtime between 12 and 2, looking for stocks that are ready to break or break down late in the day. So, I will be running a scan like this to look for stocks that have had bad earnings and are ready to, bust a move. So I will be looking at something like a GG. So this stock is just a nail on earnings and it goes sideways. And then end of day, when it finally cracks its lows, we'll take it for a day trade. And that's what we call, a day-long consolidation play.
I got slapped on GG today. I was going long, though.
You were? Oh,
yeah.
Boy. It looks like it got halted for a hot second.
I thought it was my TC2000 that got screwed up there. I thought it just was not showing up my pattern, but I got long at what was it? 1885 when it had that panic sell off a little 19.
You had a good average.
Yeah, then I got stopped out when it broke down.
So I think what happened, Cam, was the New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange had they had some type of outbreak or outage or something like that, and I saw a ton of stocks that they looked like they were halted. And the trading got really, really weird. Like I was following a bunch of stocks, and you couldn't see any of them making a move.
You're saying this is today?
Yeah, this is today.
Yeah, no, I saw that in the charts. It was weird.
How are you liking that new computer of yours?
The new laptop.
Yeah.
I actually am not that pleased with it. It's on paper, the technical specs of it. It's supposed to be like the top of the line laptop you can
Because
get.
I looked at it, the picture of this laptop is awesome. Let me see if it's an MSI
WS60.
WS60.
But it's not even that great. Like the reasons why I want it is because it has 4K output, so I can play. I bought this 4K monitor over here, so I plug it in. But it's once you get that 4K monitor attached to it, it actually runs pretty slow. It's like choppy. Like I bought a mouse to like try to use with it, and it's definitely choppy when I open up everything and I have everything laid out uh, on like all my programs open and stuff. So I actually not that happy with it. I was about to take it back and get a Dell, but
No way. I
yeah,
mean, it's a cool looking computer.
yeah, it's sick. This is not worth the money that I spent on it. That's for sure.
And Dell makes it ugly. I know you're all about looks rather than substance. I'm the same way. I'll buy the shittiest thing if it looks cool sometimes. Dell makes the ugliest computers ever.
It's gotta be a cool picture that I can post on my social media, bro.
I mean, I like looking at cool stuff. Like I got this freaking MacBook. So I got this MacBook. I mean, I had it loaded up with all this stuff. So I ended up paying $4,500 for this MacBook. And I got
Jesus.
like 16 gigs of RAM. I got a terabyte SSD hard drive. All the fun stuff. But there's no. I realized that no trading platforms run on Mac. And so the only thing I use this
Nothing does, dude.
MacBook for, it's a $4,500 paperwork. The only thing I use it for is answering emails and going on Facebook, and sometimes Match.com, and sometimes Plenty of Fish. That's it. I'm using it literally to just freaking answer emails.
Yeah, dude. So we'll see how it goes once we take it down to Costa Rica. And oh my God, there's like somebody playing the guitar out here. But yeah, we'll see how it goes once we bring it down to Costa Rica, and especially with the internet connection. Now, I'm still a little skeptical about that whole situation. Like when I was in Bali, the internet connection over there was terrible. Trying to trade over there, it's just like one more thing.
So in Costa Rica, I'll just let you know, I spent 3 months there, trading, and it made my trading game amazing because the internet is so bad that I actually couldn't fill my charts, and so I had to learn how to just read the tape and trade without charts. So I had my best 3 months ever because I was so focused on price action, and I had to make charts in my head because the freaking internet was so slow. I was getting 0.5 megabytes per second download. And they were claiming it's the fastest you can get. And now this is a couple years ago. I really hope it's better this time. But it was enough to trade, and as long as you run some old school programs, you're okay. Like Dash Trader works really well because Dash Trader doesn't take much it doesn't take much memory and stuff or bandwidth. So I noticed my Dash Trader was working fine, so I could do my charts and all that stuff. And I know you trade at Speed Trader.
Yeah, so that works, but I do all my charting through like TC2000, so that will be
TC2000 might work slow.
Yeah. One of the places I talked to the guy at one of the spots we're staying. We're staying in pretty nice places. He said it was about 3 megabytes per second download speed. So
that's not too bad.
But competing for that as well. So we're both going to be there trading, as well as Robert.
Yeah. I mean, and I trade. So you probably make a couple trades a day. I make like 30. I'm like the definition of an overtrader.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do in Costa Rica? Give us the rundown. So I've let you plan this whole trip.
All right. So we I just got back from Bali and Tokyo, and I was excited to come home because once you're in another country, sometimes it's like, oh man, I'd love to go sleep in my bed right now. But then I got home and I was like, this is
Boring.
yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. So then I talked to Robert, who used to be one of my students. He still is one of my students, but now he's a full-time employee at fooslords.com. If you're coming to my website, he's going to be the guy that you talk to and basically gives you the rundown on whatever you need to know. So I talked to him and said, hey, let's go somewhere. Let's go to Costa Rica. We can go there for like 2 weeks and just go work and do some rad shit. And then I hit you up about it. I was like, bro, me and Robert just bought tickets to Costa Rica. You in or what? And you're like, fuck yeah, let's go. And so basically what we're doing, we're going down to Jaco first, which is like, I've never been there. You said you've been there. There's a bunch of prostitutes running down around.
Jaco's not my type of town because
So that was one of the places that I wanted to visit. I went there about 3 or 4 years ago, and I didn't get to go see Jaco. So we're doing a weekend in Jaco just to go get nuts and go out and party. And then from there, we're traveling up to Malpais to Santa Teresa, and we have this sick beachfront property with its own private pool and everything that's just looking epic. From there, we'll be there for about a week or about 5 or 6 days. From there, then we're going to Tamarindo, which is I think where you were staying before.
Tamarindo.
Yeah, so we got this awesome place there. It's like a 5-bedroom place. It's got its own private pool, hot tub, this huge, sweet tiki hut thing with like a table in the middle of it. Like, it looks pretty epic. So I just actually confirmed the booking with that yesterday.
Yeah.
So
I love Tamarindo because I mean it's just a personal preference because I'm a small town guy, so like Jaco's like a big town.
yeah.
Town, there's a lot of people, and for me, like me and my boys, I mean we come from a town of like 5,000 people, so it's like we love like those little towns where there's like 2 streets and you know everybody. Like when I was in Tamarindo, like the 2 local drug dealers, they'd be like taking my mom and dad to the pharmacy or the restaurants. Like, you know, it's like it was such a small town. There's only, a handful of people there. But it was awesome. Like, you know, there's 5 or 6 bars, 5 or 6 restaurants. That's all you need. When me and Tim went to Jaco, like we were like, as I always do, we were looking for chicks. Like, I'm looking. I'm looking to make some magic happen. Find a notebook.
Get some naked hoodie.
Yes, I'm trying to find a notebook type of love, and so much to my dismay, every single girl in the city was a hooker. And I was really ready, man. I had like my nice shirt on. I was ready to pull some chicks, and there were only hookers there, and so I was so bummed.
Yeah, I mean they're everywhere. I remember being in Tamarindo. And Tamarindo is actually one of the bigger cities that are actually coastline, I think.
Yeah.
But Malpais or Santa Teresa, that's really small. There's maybe like 1 or 2 bars there, and everything else is just dirt roads and shit.
That's perfect.
But Tamarindo, I remember being there, and there was just a line of prostitutes just like waiting for people to go up and talk to them in the club. Just like, are these prostitutes or chicks? Like, obviously they look Costa Rican here, but yeah, they'll just line up on the freaking side of the bar waiting for people to go say something to them. This is hilarious.
Costa Rican women that are not prostitutes are like amazing women. They're like they're thin, but they're like super curvy. They got big old boobs and big old butts, but they're like really thin, and they're always smiling. Like Costa Rican women are always smiling. They're like super nice. I don't know. I met a lot of fun like Costa Rican friends like when I was down there because I was there for so long.
Yeah. No, it'll be an awesome time, and I'm looking forward. Tamarindo is my favorite spot too that I went to last time. But when I was there before, I was only there for 7 days. So I went from San Jose down to just down to the ferry, and then took a ferry up to Malpais, which we're going to as well, and then up to Tamarindo. So I was only there for 7 days. So this time we'll have a little bit more time, 2 weeks to go do whatever. But
yeah, buddy. Well, I'm vacation high. I trade super well on vacation, no matter what.
Yeah, I usually do, but I usually have like decent internet, so now I'm kind of a little nervous.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna have that, but it's gonna be awesome. I mean, when I was in Costa Rica, I was there for 4 months. I had 2 losing days. 2 losing days.
That's not bad, dude.
Because I had to be so focused because the internet was so bad that like I was like, and you know me, like I'm all over the place. Like I'm like like on video telling jokes or doing whatever. Like I have trouble focusing because I'm putting on a freaking rock star show sometimes, like in my head. And like I was really focused because the internet was slow, and so I'm like I had to watch everything tick by tick and like really just focus. And so I never lost. My risk management was so good. So the
What
slow
time did
internet really
you go over
helped
there?
me.
What time of the year did you go there?
I went. We got there January 11th, and we stayed to about April.
Okay, word, yeah. That's good months because the primary months that I make money trading is about November through March. The rest of the year is kind of like stagnant bullshit, blah blah blah. But those are my primary trading. I probably make 70 to 80 money is between November and March. So we're going there for the first couple of weeks, or I guess we're going right in the middle of November. So hopefully that we'll have good enough internet where we can make some good gold patterns, just like ISR, which I think was, or that might have been March of last year or this year. Uh, but yeah, I like my internet connection, so this will be interesting to see how this goes.
Oh
I
yeah, we're
might
not
even
gonna
bring
get.
up
I
a
get. I get
wire.
100 megabytes per second download over here, and I know we're about to get. We're about to get. Dial-up speeds. It's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Actually, I went and got two iPhone 6s for me and Robert because I switched to Sprint. I wasn't ready to buy a new one for Verizon yet, so I opened up a new account with Sprint, and there's supposedly 4G LTE around here, and then I had my phone, and it was downgrading to a 3G because I couldn't get 4G where I live in San Diego. It was like the most miserable thing in the world. I was at the gym, getting ready to throw my fucking phone through a window because I couldn't even stream music on it. So I took those phones back, and now I'm back on Verizon. So it's definitely difficult to go from what you usually have. Like if you look at what I have right now, I have freaking a huge 6 monitor, trading setup, and then you go to one laptop. That's like holding my hand behind my back trying to trade and stuff. So it's definitely, different to adapt into a vacation system. That's why I have this 4K monitor that I'm bringing down with me to Costa Rica to try to cope with that whole adaptation from going to a huge setup down to a laptop.
Hey, so let me ask you this, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. What are the tools that you use? Like a lot of people ask me about tools, scanners. Like, what are the tools and the setups that you use? Like, what's going on this very busy desk that you have? Like, mine is full of beer cans and like weird shit. You got like a nice clean desk. What's going on at this damn desk?
I mean, for one, I have these ridiculous sunlight lights here that keep me awake so I can actually trade. This turns on. But as far as like my main tool that I use is probably FinViz. That's what I create my watch list every night, and a lot of my trades that I make the following day are stocks off the watch list that I created the previous night because I set alerts through TC2000, whether it be a trend line alert or some kind of breakout zone. So the primary tool that I use that helps me, identify these patterns for the following session, be prepared to buy. Because a lot of times, people will run like real-time scanners or something and see these stocks after they break out because they're looking for volume or something. With FinViz, I can find and try to identify these patterns before they actually break out, and I set a trend line alert or right before that maybe breakout zone where I get an alert saying, hey, this stock just moved past this zone. It might be breaking out of this area that I might be trying to buy into. So my biggest tool for my success is using FinViz, of which I'm not going to tell you what my scans are, but I do teach you those in my training programs. But setting up a watch list so that you're prepared with a list of stocks to trade for the following session and you're ready to be there rather than people that are, find this stock because it is breaking out when we're already in before it broke out or as it just broke out. So that's probably my number one tool for success is using FinViz, or a lot of people use whatever they want, but I use FinViz.
Do you still use trade ideas at all?
I do sometimes, but it's
so hard to use.
It's it's a lot of like I said, it's volume. You're looking for volume if you're looking on trade ideas. So a lot of times you're late to the game because the reason why it pops up on trade ideas is because you're looking at a stock that's already moving.
You're too late. Yeah, you're too
Yeah,
late.
so my main tool that I focus on is FinViz because I try to identify those patterns that I try to anticipate that potential breakup because a lot of times you don't see that volume until it actually breaks out of a technical area. Or if
Volume comes in after the fact.
yeah, so I try to anticipate buying into that that breakout zone before the volume actually comes in. So, and how I do that is I use FinViz and run a scan. There's probably like 500 charts that I have to look at, and I just pick and choose those charts, then put them into my watch list that I send out every night.
So, guys, this is really, really important. This is a fallacy in trading that I believe is completely wrong. So, in trading books and the gurus of the past, not the present, they say that volume is like this huge thing that you have to pay attention to when you're trading breakouts or big runners. But if you really think about it in a common sense way, if a stock hasn't broke out, how could there be any volume in it? The volume only comes in after the fact. When everybody knows that the breakout has happened, then the suckers get in and give you the volume. But the people that are smart, the people that are making the money, they are getting in well before a pattern actually makes its move. So there might not be the volume confirmation. Now, it doesn't mean we just trade stocks at 50, 60,000 in volume. We still have to have liquidity. But it's a misnomer to say, I need volume to trade, like expanding volume, because if there's expanding volume, that means that everybody's already got into the stock and you're the last one into the game. And I don't know about you, Cameron, but everything we learned when we were younger is that you have to have the volume tells you everything. Like the volume going up tells you there's going to be a breakout. And for me, it's like if the volume is going up, it means I missed the breakout. I'm the last one to the party.
Yeah, if you look, I mean, it was different. Like back in like 2005 to 2008, when I was full on swing trading, I wouldn't wake up for the opens. I didn't trade the opens at all. And I would swing trade. I was much more patient. I was also trading with a lot less money, so I wasn't looking at my P&L. I'm like, oh man, I'm losing, $2,000 here. If I had to see this pullback, I'd be losing like $30 or something. So it was much different back then. But yeah, I try, like I said, I try to have that watch list so I can anticipate that breakout. A lot of times before I buy into a stock, I'm looking at that, like you said, the opening range breakout. A lot of times I don't wait for that opening range breakout to happen. I try to identify a potential opening range breakout and buy into it, anticipating that it's looking like it's going to break out.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's all about being able to identify those patterns and buy in before that actual breakout happens and that volume confirmation comes in, because all these real-time scanners, they're not going to pick up that breakout until it already broke out and the volume is coming in, and then you see the people that continue to ride up the stock. A lot of them are maybe continually buying in when I'm taking profits at that point. So yeah, it's all about being able to identify patterns and trying to anticipate them rather than waiting for them to happen and then trying to take advantage of it.
All right, I get two questions. We're going to wrap this up and answer all these guys' questions. Number one, how is it that you pick up so many chicks? I want to know. I mean, I'm a nice guy. I mean, but I don't have nearly the success.
Dude, lately, like the last couple girls that I've been, like my last girlfriend I met through Instagram. I knew her through mutual friends, but she actually hit me up on Instagram, and I already kind of had a crush on this chick. And she's like, "Hey, let's go," or I need a male model to go down to Mexico and do this like photo shoot for this like wedding planner thing. Like I was gonna play like bride and groom as a wedding thing. So she actually hit me up and asked me to do that. And I was like, that's weird. I don't want to do that, but let's hang out. So we actually hung out. Didn't work out. But I just went on a date last night with this chick that I met through Instagram. So Instagram has just been like my game lately. Somehow I don't really know.
So you're saying I gotta creep around on Instagram to find my notebook type of love?
I guess. I mean, I meet some people out through the bar scene and stuff, and Nick's got more game than I do. You know Nick, my roommate.
Nick's got game.
So
Who's this
a
game?
lot of times he'll meet girls at the bar, and then I'll meet their friends. But me, like, I just a lot of it's been through Instagram. Like, I went on a date with this girl from LA that drove down that I had never met before, but we had been bullshitting on Instagram for like a year. And then this girl that I went on a date with last night, uh, one of my other girlfriends doing her eyelashes, and she was talking about her ex-boyfriend or something. She's like, "Oh, I have a friend that you should introduce yourself to." And then so she direct messaged me on Instagram, and I said, "What's up?" And she was cute. She was still a 21-year-old girl, so we went out to dinner last night, and she came over and watched the movie. We didn't do anything much. We kissed, said goodnight, and then now we're gonna hang out at some point again soon. But a lot of my shit lately has just been randomly through Instagram. So.
So, as a professional trader, you're posting all these pictures, and people are like, "Hey, Cam, oh wow, nice
Yeah.
photo." All
What was
right.
cool about this girl last night, though, is that she was intimidated by my Maserati. She didn't like it. She was like, "Can you go like borrow someone's piece of shit car and come pick me up?" And that's what I want. You know, my ideal girl is some girl from a small town that drives a piece of shit car, because I know that she's a real person, not some San Diego dumb blonde that's here for the money. If a girl drives a nice car, she's a stuck-up bitch. So you want to try to find a girl that drives a piece of shit car, and that's from a small town, ideally. Otherwise, she's just there for your money. It's my opinion.
Oh boy. All right. Writing all these things down. All right. Now this is the main question. I think this is the stuff that people have a hard time doing. And I've had hard times doing it too. Is a lot of guys, they start trading and they think everything's going to go good. And it happens to go live. Like like in my boot camp, I put everybody on a simulator. So you go in a simulator, you're trading pretty good. So you go live trading. Okay? So you're live trading and everything's going good for a while, but inevitably everybody goes in a slump.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody goes in a slump. You've been in slumps that are like sometimes, I mean, you're near suicidal, and you know me, when I'm in a slump, I'm more than suicidal because I'm ready to kill you. I'm ready to kill my roommates. I'm ready to kill all my students. I mean, like, I make sure now that I don't go in those type of slumps. For me, it's MDK, murder, death, kill, just like Demolition Man. How do you lift yourself out of a slump? Like, how do you, when you're losing, turn this thing around when you actually know what you're doing? Because trading is so much mental. You do know what you're doing, but sometimes you get dragged into the slump. Like, how do you personally get yourself out of that? Like, what do you do?
I mean, that's like a very difficult question because there's not really anything you can do until you actually hit a winning trade and you get that confidence back.
How do you
But
get there? Like, like if it was you, what do you do?
well, for example, last year, I think maybe, yeah, I guess this was 2013. I was like on a losing streak for like maybe like 2 months. Like I literally didn't have like a winning trade for like probably 30 days straight, and I was just like,
I remember it.
what the fuck is going on here? And so I lost like like a $25,000 pullback in my account. And yeah, I was like ready to fucking quit and like do so. I was like researching all this other shit I could do for a job. I was just like, this is awful. And then what it is being confident in that your strategy works, but understanding that there is downfalls in the stock market. There are going to be times that you do hit slumps, but as long as you remember the times that this strategy does work, there will be these opportunities coming up. And that's basically what happened with, there was a down slump for about 2 months where I was just in such a mental, mind fuck and such a gutter where I just continually was losing every day. I was losing small every day, but it was just, continually chipping at my brain and continually chipping at my portfolio where I was just so mentally out of it. And then finally, Fannie Mae came up with that gold pattern, which I was just talking about on ISR. And I saw that gold pattern and I took advantage of it and I made like 15 grand in 2 days. And I was just like, all right, this shit works. It just, sometimes you have slumps, you have to wait it out. And that's basically what was, my turnaround point right there was I hit a good trade. The pattern showed up. I traded it, and I traded it correctly. And I didn't even trade it correctly. I traded it from like 95 cents up to $1.20 per share. So it could have been huge, but you know, when you get into those down slumps, and for new traders, it's kind of difficult because if they don't have a strategy that they really know works, or have been doing this for a while, that's on a whole nother level of trying to figure out what should I do. But for me, it was just finally seeing that trade pop up and actually taking advantage of it, and that was a turnaround. And just understanding that patterns that you trade aren't there, and so you can only do what you can, and focus on risk management rather than focus on I need to make money right now. Rather focus on preserving capital. Like I said, now I've been more and more focused on staying flat or forward with my portfolio, not allowing that drawdown. Like I had a $25,000 drawdown on my account, which for me was a big deal. Like I had an awesome, first couple months of the year. Next thing you know, I had this huge dip of about 25 grand over the course of like 2 months where I was just slowly chipping away. And at that, now to get back to break even, I got to make up for that $25,000. So my focus a lot lately is not even getting close to having any drawdowns. Maybe a little bit, but rather than if there's a slow time like the last month, the market completely ate shit. A lot of people might ask me like, "Oh man, the market just ate shit over the last 3 weeks. You probably lost a lot of money." Like, no, I didn't lose anything. And then the market all of a sudden snapped back to the upside the last 2 weeks. They're like, "Oh man, you must have made a shitload of money." No, I actually really didn't make anything that time either. It's been a very chaotic market for the last month and a half. So during these kind of chaos periods, while there are opportunities to make money, I focus on capital preservation over anything rather than just being diehard. I need to make money right now. So I wait for the patterns to pop up and I trade them. Like I said, between about November through March is typically, historically, when I make probably 70 to 80% of all my money. So it's really just understanding that there are downturns in the market and being able to not lose your ass during that when there's those tough times, is being just understanding that you got to roll with the punches here.
Right on. So guys, and how I deal with slumps is essentially this. I track everything I do, every single thing I do. So I track, just like an athlete, I believe that building a trader is the same process as it would be building an Olympic athlete or a professional athlete. That you have to track data for all sorts of things. So what I do is I track data for every single type of setup I trade, when I trade, what hour of day I trade, all of that type of stuff. So when I go in a slump and my game is off, there are 2 or 3 setups that I have an 80% plus win ratio. Okay, and I have money setups that I trade that I have 40% plus, 40% win ratio. So it's a big difference, right? So when I get in a slump, what I do is I simplify what I'm trying to do and narrow it down into the setups that I trade the best, that I have a statistical probability of having success on this trade, and that's what gets me out of the slump, because I know if I take 3 or 4 trades in the setups that are my go-to setups, my money-making setups that I know I win a majority of the time, then I won't be able to keep my slump up, because I'm trading stuff that is mine. It's my go-to setup. This is my old faithful. Everybody needs a slump buster. That setup that you can lean on when times get rough. And if you don't have that, your trading is fucked, because you don't have anything to rely on. I mean, to really do this every single day, everybody's got to have a go-to girl, your ride or die girl. You got to ride dirty sometimes, but everybody needs a ride or die girl. And so you got to have your go-to setup. So Fausto, you got like your 4 Faust patterns. Like, what's your go-to pattern? Like, I know you because I've seen you bust out of slumps. you tend to go with a couple different things, and you stick to it.
Yeah, like I said, it's the gold pattern. It's the dollar roll. Once the dollar rolls start rolling around and they actually work, you can make a quick 20 to 100% in a week or two. I typically never hold it that long, all the way up to $2 per share. I've actually never held a gold pattern from $1 to $2 per share, but I've traded many of them over the last 10 years. I just have never had that patience. I think the longest I held was like $1 up to like $1.70 before, but having that patience is very difficult. But that's when I make my most money, is when the dollar gold patterns come around, and I can load up 10 to 30,000 shares at $1, sell it into the 120s or 130s, and make a crap load of money in a very short amount of time. So that's like my go-to setup when those do happen. But there's really only about once a year when you see those really start working out well, and that's typically between November and March, which is coming up right around the corner. So we'll see. The market's pretty chaotic right now. It's kind of hard to say how we're going to be rolling into this part of the year.
Rock and roll. All right, let's get to these questions. Let's get to some of these questions that people have, Cam. So a lot of people are asking, what brokers do you use, and do you ever short some of these penny stocks?
Hold on, I'm sitting in a Snapchat here of our live webinar.
Snapchat? I thought that was for kids.
I use Snapchat every day, bro.
Really? See, you don't Snapchat other dudes, though, do you? That's weird.
No, well, I mean, a lot of people think like Snapchat's just for fucking nudie pics, but it's not. It's 90% of the, more than 90% of the time, anybody I'm Snapchatting, it's like 99% of the time, anybody I'm Snapchatting, anybody Snapchatting me is just us bullshitting about doing something goofy, or we're partying somewhere, or just like I just Snapchatted everybody on my list of us doing this live webinar. So that's not a dick pic. It's just me Snapchatting what's going on right now. So it's more of like I like Snapchat over anything, because a lot of times it's real-time shit. It's not like a filter, pic of some girl doing a selfie with like a bunch of filters making her look, like $1 million, and that's really not what she looks like. It's like,
man, you can make anybody look hot with Instagram, man. I've learned this lesson. Let me tell you, I've learned this lesson a very hard way. Those filters can make anybody look hot. It can make me look like I have hair. I mean, literally, you can do anything with those freaking filters. Yeah. Now, the question is, what brokers do you like? Do you ever short penny stocks?
I do use Speed Trader for like the last 4 or 5 years, and that's been my go-to trading broker. But they actually just upped up their minimum deposit, I think, to like $15,000, because they didn't want to deal with all the people with smaller accounts. So that's why we have ClickFund through you as well. That is good for people with smaller accounts. But shorting, I short every once in a while. Speed Trader Pro actually just opened up a new brokerage firm, speedtraderpro.com, and they're kind of like Centerpoint Capital. I think I still haven't opened an account, but I've been debating opening up an account with them just to focus a little more on shorting stocks. Because a lot of times Speed Trader won't have stocks that I want to short. But predominantly I've always been a bull trader, always on the long side. I think I remember I was trading with you, or we were bullshitting, and I had one really big losing short. I lost like 4 or 5 grand on like
Heat.
What was it?
Heat.
Yeah, it was something. And after that, I was like, I'm done.
Heat and CLNT, they both were going. They're up like 200% that day, but the float was freaking so low. It was really hard to time.
They're already up huge, and then I continually added to my position, and then I was down so much, and then I finally just cut my loss and said, screw it, I'm done shorting. And then I literally didn't make a short trade for about a year after that. And then slowly I've been kind of grinding back into shorts lately. But my strategy is always, the food sports strategy has always been long, no matter what the market's doing. And that's what I know that works. It's the only thing that's worked for me consistently. I've tried, Tim Sykes' shit. I think his strategy sucks. I've tried Investors Live, just following him on Twitter. I don't know what he's talking about half the time because I can't follow the shorting shit. So yeah,
you got to do your own. Like Nate's an amazing trader. He really is.
You got to find your own niche that works for you and stick with it.
You got to know what he's doing. And that's So you got to stick with what you know.
Yeah. So, and that's what I do. And that's where I've found my success is doing what I know, the Foos 4 strategy. And so when I try to step off that path is typically when I start making unnecessary losses. So, but I do short every once in a while.
Cool. A couple of people asked when you were showing your charts, what were those moving averages that you were showing?
The main moving average that I base a lot of my trading off is a 13 EMA, and that can work for any time frame that you're looking at. So I'll look at the 13 EMA on the daily chart, as well as I'll look at it on the 1-minute chart, 2-minute chart, 5-minute chart. It's just basically a short-term trend indicator.
Cool. My man Mula is
I wish I
asking.
could see the chat. I don't know why the hell I can't see the chat over here. I've been able
Yeah, well, there's a button that you're supposed to click and it'll show up on your right side, but it might just
It
be.
does. I wrote in there. I said testing, but it's just me in here.
Shit,
Okay.
now I turned my chat off. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Let's see here. Cameron, when did you turn around your trading from losing money to actually consistently making money? Man, I got the freshest fade today. You like that, Cam?
Yeah, good haircut, bro.
That's $8, baby. $8.
Yeah, but no, really, what it came down to for me, and what it comes down to for anyone, like I can teach anyone. Anybody can go through my Foo training programs and know exactly what I know at that point. But unless you can mentally, be in your head and stick to the rules, you're not going to make it. And that's what it took me was a shitload of losses over 3 years of finally being like, all right, I can't go all in on some stupid penny stock and try to just, make one big, huge win and try to build my account. You have to take it step by step, piece by piece on a day-to-day basis. You can't swing for the fence on anything, and you can't break the rules of the game. You have to find a strategy that somebody else has done successfully and try to implement it yourself and actually stick to it. Because if you go outside of those rules, one bad trade, you can all of a sudden turn into a downward spiral. Next thing you know, your account's gone and you have to start over. So the biggest for me was, finally getting it in my head that I can't, step outside of that box and try to make any big risky trades. Even though sometimes a lot of people do that and they make one big trade, but whether that's healthy for them or not, it's hard to say because that might influence them to do that again, and then they wipe everything out. So
never seen a guy make it after one big trade. Never.
Yeah. So,
I've seen guys do it. I've seen guys $1 million on a trade. Never seen it have continued success.
Yeah, so you just have to understand that, you have to stick to the rules of the game very, very tightly. And that's what it took for me was finally to get through my head like, okay, I know I have a strategy that works. I've been doing this for like 3 years, but I just can't seem to make money because I keep breaking the rules and keep trying to swing for the fence. I'd like buy into a stock on earnings before it, being like, okay, this guy over here thinks that this thing's going to blow up on earnings. The next thing you know, I lose 50% on this stock, and I had like half my portfolio in it. So you can't make those big risks. You can't screw around. You have to stick to the rules. You have to diversify and stay within the boundaries of the game.
Work. Hey, a bunch of people have asked. I got 4 people that have asked. Have you ever used a keto diet rather than maybe paleo or whatever else you're doing?
Keto diet?
Keto, like so I think that's like a no carb, 0 carbs diet. They're like ketosis essentially.
Yeah. No, I've done the ketosis thing. I've bought pea strips to.
That shit sucks, by the way. For anybody that's ever does it.
And you try to test your ketosis levels, but it's pretty hard to
stick to it.
No, it's pretty difficult. I mean, I still try to stick to no carbs at all, but I mean, I just had a freaking spinach wrapped thing the other day because I got drunk while we were trying to get this webinar going, and then I wanted a wrap, and so you definitely break the rules all the time. It's just about keeping consistency, but mainly my diet consists around paleo, but I try to stay away from fruit. Fruit's not necessarily bad for you, but there's a lot of sugar in fruit. So mainly what I try to stick to is just chicken, meats, vegetables, eggs, Juicing, I do a lot of juicing. I don't do it myself because but every day I'll go for lunch and get a Super 7 juice, which is carrot, beet, spinach, kale, and cucumber, and a Quest bar. I eat a shitload of Quest bars.
They're so tasty, man. Feels like you're eating dessert.
Yeah, I'm bringing like 3 boxes of Quest bars down to Costa Rica.
I get the cookie dough ones and the cookies and cream ones.
Yeah, those are my top two.
They're so good, though. You literally feel like you're eating freaking cookie dough.
Yeah.
But it's got no sugar in them. I don't understand how it works. I
Yeah.
feel like, you ever see that Seinfeld where they had the the no-fat ice cream, but then they ended up having fat in it and they all gained weight? Those Quest bars are the same exact thing, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna eat these Quest bars. Next thing you know, we're gonna be like,
Yeah, it's blowing up. But no, I eat probably at least 2 Quest bars a day.
a couple of people want to know, can I make bank trading while managing my schoolwork in high school? Well, this is a really tricky thing.
I mean, that's a hard question to answer because wasn't trading in high school, but it's really about being available during the right time. So a lot of people, that work are, have a 9 to 5 or something, and on the East Coast, or I mean on the West Coast, for me, I trade from about 6:30 a.m. mainly to about 7:30 to 8 a.m. Those are like my primary trading hours. So a lot of people have that time free to trade because if they have a 9 to 5, if they're going to school or whatever, but it's really about being able to have the time available during the certain times that you need to trade. And the market's so quick right now, you have to be there to manage those trades. You can't just set it and forget it kind of stuff. You have to be able to monitor. You have to be on your phone monitoring stuff. So it's really just about your time availability, what time you have to go to school, what time you have class. You can be there for the first hour, or at least first hour to hour and a half. You can still make money. I could still just, if I really wanted to, I could only trade the first hour, and that would be it for the entire year. And I would think I would be able to make 6 figures just trading for the first hour of the market and just walking away easily. But I'm sitting at home all day by myself, also running a business, so I'm always at the computer, always tempted to trade and doing all this other stuff. But within the first hour, there's opportunities to make 6 figures for the year, no doubt.
Word. A couple more here. Dun, 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 dun. Since spouse trades penny stocks, can his students trade with the Click Fund? I'll answer that question. They can. Cameron doesn't really trade When I think of penny stocks, I think of OTCs, and I haven't, since I've known Cameron, he might, but I haven't seen him really very often trade OTCs or pink sheets much. Cameron, do you do those type of trades?
I 9% of the time never touch an OTC or a pink sheet stock. Back previously, before 2008's debacle of all the financial shit, OTC stocks were actually not that bad. They were tradable. There was lots of patterns that were there, but now the OTC markets are so manipulated and they're so washed up that I don't scan for them whatsoever. I have 0 scans that I look at any OTC stock. The only reason why I would ever notice an OTC stock is if somebody mentioned it to me and said, hey, check this stock out, and I might look at it. So I really only trade stocks on the NASDAQ, Amex, and New York Stock Exchange, which are all major exchanges. Typically only stocks between $1, sometimes upwards. I was trading GoPro today, so I'll trade anything now. I used to be way more focused in the beginning on very low price stocks, but I trade everything as of right now.
Cool. Hey, we got to answer this one because this is one of my favorite students named Winston. He's like the nicest young guy. He's asking, what is it about March that makes you trade better? What is different about the market during this time of year? And also, have you noticed that 2014 has been more difficult to trade? Like, is it more choppy? And I've noticed this. I've noticed a lot of people say 2014 has been a tricky market to trade. I've actually had my best year, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily the hardest market to trade, but it's been different, I think. for sure, compared to the previous year where the Russell was up 35%.
Yeah.
It's a different market, but it's not necessarily like you can't make money per se. But what do you think about that seasonality question?
I mean, it's it's hard to say why that. I don't know why this happens, but typically, we always have some kind of Christmas rally or something. But typically between November and March, that's when you see the Foos 4 patterns come to light, and you can actually trade them on a large scale, and they actually have continued runs to the upside. But that's just historically speaking. The market right now, the way that it looks, kind of makes me nervous about going into this season. That's usually my biggest season. The market right now, I don't like the way it looks. So it'll be interesting to see how the market turns out for these next months, just because of the way that the market's reacted over the last month or two. But as far as why they do that during that season, I have absolutely no clue. That's just
You know what? It happens. My buddy St. Lucci, Lucci. Lucci was telling me, like last year he made $2 million, and pretty much like all of it was within like a 3-week span.
Yeah, I remember him talking about that at one point. He's like, I literally make all my money within a month, and that's for the whole entire year. And the rest of the year, he's just kind of chopping around looking for that 1 or 2 big trades.
And for me, I like to grind it. I'm a grinder, so I'll literally take $200, $300 at a time every day of the week, and I don't like having losing days. Like I gotta go and get it, because I know I'm never gonna have like a $20,000, $50,000 trade. It's just not my style.
Yeah,
I go because I'm a day trader. I go and make $400, $500, $600 at a time, and I do it over and over and over. And there are days where I make $10,000 or $12,000, and I have this huge day. And I might have 1 or 2 big trades in there, but it's like I take the base hits. I take the base hits, and I like to win every day. I mean, as a day trader and a hedge fund trader, I have my own hedge fund. It's like, I got to win every day, because that's how hedge fund trader. That's the nature of our beast. So
yeah, it's trading.
Sometimes it's a little bit different for every person. What are your opinions on the market in the next 3 to 6 months?
I mean, I have absolutely zero clue. I mean, this is a question that I get when people ask me, like, "Hey, what do you think of this stock?" I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I have no clue what any stock's going to do at any given time, nor does anybody else on this planet. So I refuse to answer those questions, because I'm not psychic, nor is anybody else. The only thing that I know is that I look for Foos 4 patterns, and they either break out and go up, or they don't break, or they break out for a second and they fail, and I sell for a small loss. So that's the only thing I know about trading, is that I identify some patterns. They either work or they don't. If they work, I lock in some profit. If they don't work out, I cut a loss as small as possible. So it's always an if-then statement for me. It's not ever a question of what do I think this stock is going to do.
So a bunch of people asked, what are our win-loss ratios?
Like I said, what I was saying before, I literally lose half the time. My win ratio is only about 51%. So the only reason why I'm able to win is because, like I said, I am extremely disciplined about cutting my loss. If the stock trade does not work out for me, I'll immediately sell that stock, no hesitation, and move on to the next stock, or I'll potentially rebuy that stock. But there's no reason to continually hold on to a losing position. Like I always say to everyone, losing money in the stock market is a choice. The only reason why anybody loses money in the stock market is because they went into a losing position and they chose to continue to hold that losing position as it continues to fall. So everyone has that decision to make once they get into a losing position, to either cut their loss short or continue to hold it and hope and pray that it might come back up. But a lot of times it doesn't, and so a lot of people get on that hope train, and then they lose all their money rather than choosing not to lose. So the only time anybody loses money in the stock market is when they choose to. So
that's true. And the win-loss ratio, I find it doesn't really make that much of a difference, because like at times my win-loss ratio is like 74%. Like I had 2012, I was a 74% win ratio, but my average gain versus loss was much different than Cameron's. Like where Cameron's average gain might be $2,000 and his average loss is say $200. He's got a 10-to-1 reward to risk ratio. Hypothetically, when I'm batting 74%, all that means is I'm taking a lot of small hits, and then I'm having a lot of small losses. And so, you're not getting the win-loss ratio in terms of your average gain per loss where you need to be, and so your win ratio goes up. Like Cameron probably could win 90% of the time if all he was going to do is take $20 on a trade. Your win ratio doesn't matter as much as your average gain per loss, your reward to risk ratio.
Yeah, so it's different for everybody. All about how you manage your money and what kind of trader you are, what you're looking for when you get into a stock.
Word, bum, 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 bum. A couple of people asked, woo!
Bless you, though.
Jeez. A couple of people asked, the patterns do you trade, are they applicable to larger price stocks, like $10 stocks or $20 stocks or whatever?
Yeah, I mean it's applicable to
stocks.
Any price stock. Thing that I notice a lot about larger cap stocks is that the intraday swings are much larger. So you're going to see, a breakout, but it might swing up and swing down. So you're going to see a lot of day trading movement, basically, in larger cap stocks, I feel like. So a lot of times, small cap stocks, I'll buy a stock sometimes at $1. It'll make one quick run up to 10 to 15, $1.10 to $1.15, and I'm in an amount, and I can, that's 15% on my position. So you can apply it to larger cap stocks. I just think they react a little bit differently. They don't happen as fast, I guess, the movements.
Yeah. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Do you trade pre-market or aftermarket much?
Not typically. Like I said before, I traded GoPro today. I bought it at frickin' just below $72, and now it's at $78.80. And I actually lost $500 in that stupid trade because I was going to go to the gym instead of sit here and monitor it. So
that's actually
priorities. Fun, man. That's another thing about working out. You got to make it a priority. So instead of making $5,000, I lost $500 to go to the gym instead. But typically, no, I don't trade AH and after hours pre-market.
Hold on. How often, when you cut your losses quickly, does the stock turn right away and you want to smash your keyboard? Every day? Every day, every minute.
I'll show you a trade right now. Let me screen
every day, every minute.
Every day, every minute. So let me share this. So here's one that I actually did a video lesson on the other day, ARCP. I called the bottom on this thing frickin' perfectly. Unfortunately, I just got a little nervous here and stopped out. So I was looking at ARCP here. What I look for on a stock on a bounce play is typically a stock that's made a major move to the downside. I don't like trying to buy into a stock that had just gapped down at the open and then try to buy it like right away. I like to see a stock that's trending to the downside on the 13 EMA, which is the 1-minute chart here that I'm looking at, and I like to find it when it's basing out at a whole number. So I was looking here at ARCP. We'll back up a little bit here.
Oh, bastard. I was trying to short this fucker, too.
Yeah, see, so I was watching it right here. I was like, all right, this thing is, coming all the way, panic selling off from $9 per share all the way down to $8. And also to bring back of why you got to be disciplined to cutting your losses, a lot of people might think that this is what I look for in a bounce is when it's basing out at a whole number. So you can see here, it's coming down, basing out around 9. You could have scalped that for a bounce. But a lot of people might have thought, hey, it's basing out around 9, or at least how I look at a bounce trade. That might be the bottom. It might rally back to the upside. But it eventually continued to break down and continue to slide. So you have to be disciplined to cut that loss if that trade doesn't work out, or just take the quick scalp. But from here, it came all the way back down within the hour to 8. So at this point, I'm looking at this stock, and I'm thinking, okay, just panic sold off from 9 all the way down to 8 in a short amount of time. we're having two big volume spikes here on the buy side, right at $8 per share. So I got long 2,000 shares. Not a huge position because you really don't know what these stocks are going to do, but I wanted to have a piece of the action. So I got long at 8.10 as soon as it started showing a little bit of sign of action here. And right after this, it had one last quick little sell-off here, and I got a little nervous that it might continue to drop, and I actually sold, I think, right about here at like 7.89. And then I was hesitant. You know, it's sometimes hard to take a quick loss like that, and then while you have a bunch of people watching you in your chat room, just be like, actually, never mind, I'm rebuying it again right now. So I, at this point, didn't really have the confidence to buy back in, but I called it in the right area. I just stopped out a little bit too quickly on this little quick. It was this little stupid candle right there where I had one major big sell-off that I actually stopped out. But I had a lot of students that got into this stock, and from here, based out at 8, and it's ramped all the way up near 9. And basically what I look for, once it does bounce and base off at a whole number, is for it to break back above that 13 EMA on the 1-minute intraday. And then from there, you can just ride that 13 EMA until it breaks down. And as you can see, it did break down right about here, but that's 70 cents you can take advantage of right there on that trade with 2,000 shares. That's what, like $1,400 or something, quick, easy money within, 15 minutes. And then actually it came all the way back up. But, I was sitting here, super pissed off. Like, I just fucking stopped out on lows of the day when I was in right here at 8.10. Next thing you know, up at $9 per share. Same thing with GoPro today. I got in here at frickin', what was it? Zooming forward here. I got in right here, 71.80. It ramped all the way up. I was up like almost $2,000 at 73.70. I stopped out right here and said, screw it, I got to go to the gym. And it bounced right after I sold, and now it's up at 78. I'd be up $6,000 on this trade. So I said fuck a lot today when shit wasn't working.
Yeah, I say it all the time, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just part of trading. You have to learn to accept it and understand that you're going to, trading is always woulda, shoulda, coulda. You take what you can get and move on. There's never the perfect trade. That's why taking partial positions is always important.
Yeah. I asked my employees, we have a whole, what do we got to do to grow revenues and hit our goals to get to a $10 million a year company? And so they said, so the only fucking idea these bozos came up with was maybe you should stop swearing so much in the chat room. Oh, yeah. Why didn't I think of that? Shit.
I mean,
when you day trade, you want to swear all the time, or shoot yourself in the head. I mean, it's just the nature of the game. Yeah. I'm suicidal like 90% of the day.
I mean, some people, like, we got an email the other day to Robert, and it was a guy that was a former Tim Sykes student, and he was like, hey, man, I'm here from Tim Sykes, and I just want to say I really like what you guys are doing. I loved the day in the chat room, and also I was super pumped that I could say fuck and not get booted from the chat room, which was hilarious. And it's if you have a problem with that, then I really don't care. I mean, I'm sorry if that offends you, but I'm just going to be who I am, and that's who I am. If you have a problem with that, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. We're here to make money and trade stocks. And so, hand in hand with stocks, when you think of the stock market, go watch Wolf of Wall Street. Not that that's what my life is like, but that's, what a lot of people associate with that. So I'm sitting here when I trade, I'm usually in like sweatpants and, just a regular t-shirt or something. I'm not in a business suit. This is not a professional location. I'm just doing whatever in sweatpants. So
we look like bums all the time. I mean, good looking. Hey, this is a really cool question from Leo. Leo is one of my students. He asked probably the hardest question, some real details. But he says, how do you train yourself to cut your losses so quickly?
I mean,
how do you do that? Because it's in all our nature to hold on to stuff. and hope they go back up. The hopium. Pull
It's
and pray. We've all done the pull and pray. Every Saturday night, baby.
It's just, it's experience is what it is. I've been trading for 10 years, and it was, like I said, what was my final step, or how did I finally become a profitable trader, which was after about 3 years of just understanding that the only reason why I was losing money in the stock market, and the only reason why I was failing, is that I was allowing those losses to happen. So if you see those losses happen, you're taking these fat losses, that's going to be a learning experience in your head. And you're like, shit, I can't allow that to happen, because if that happens, then you got this huge hole to dig yourself out of. And so it just finally came to my realization that I have to sell this stock, because I can't put myself into that. And if you put yourself into a hole, that totally screws up with your head even more, because then you're trying to get out of this hole and you can't even focus on making the right decisions because you're so adamant about trying to make that money back that you lost. So for me, I personally developed, or I don't know, I just became, a normalcy to me to not allow the hole to happen. Sometimes it happens. The only times it happens for me now is if I get caught in a halted stock, which has happened several times this year actually, or some kind of random bad news overnight. So it's basically, the only way that happens to me is if it's a situation that I cannot control. But basically, yeah, you just got to suffer those losses and realize that this is what happens, and you're going to get yourself in a hole, and it sucks being in that hole. So I try to avoid that hole at all costs, no matter what.
Word. So, Leo, if you're having trouble doing this, do this. This is the easiest way to train yourself to cut your losses easily. For your next 30 trades, no matter what you do and what you buy, put a 2-cent stop loss under right after you buy. What'll happen is your next 30 trades, you'll get stopped out 30 times. And then you'll learn your lesson to stop out quickly. You get used to it. Because you just stopped out 30 times in a row for 2 cents, you'll probably lose a couple $100. But now your brain has been trained to take a small loss. So just do it for the next 30 trades. No matter what. Whatever it is that you buy, whether you think it's a home run or not, don't even worry about it. Just put your stop loss 2 cents below where you buy it. You're going to stop out no matter what when you have a 2-cent stop. And you'll never feel shy about using stop loss again. You'll be used to it. Just a couple more, Cam. I know we're getting late. Well, not for you. You're at 7 o'clock. But for someone transitioning from a daytime job to full-time trader, when do you think it's the right time to fully commit to one and get out of the other?
That is a great question.
That's a good question.
I mean, really what it comes down to is your own level of confidence and if you're actually making money. So if you're making money and you're confident that you know what you're doing and that you can sustain yourself as a trader, and you're, finding yourself, it was kind of like me in school. I found myself not even going to class by my senior year, and I was just focusing on trading at that point. So it's when you're finding yourself maybe more time focusing on trading, and it's actually making you money as opposed to something else. Like I dropped out of school my senior year. I didn't finish. But, if you're making money and you're spending a lot of time trading and it's doing better than your actual job, or maybe comparable, and you hate your job, I think it's mainly just about having confidence in yourself that you have a firm grasp on trading, and you're confident that this is something that you can actually do successfully. If you're questionable and you're not making money, obviously you're not going to do it. But if you're in a situation where you are making money and you're confident in yourself, then maybe that's time when you should make that leap of faith.
100%, Leandro. When you wake up and you've got only one thing on your mind besides your morning wood, that means you're a trader. And when you go to sleep and the only thing that you have on your mind is stocks, you're a trader. I've been trading 14 years now. I've made over 100,000 day trades, and I can tell you for a fact that there are a lot of, almost every single night, I have some weird dream about stocks. Somewhere in there. They're not all about stocks, but somewhere, stocks, charts, something pops up in it. I don't know about you, Cameron, but I fucking think about it all the time. I have so many dreams every week. Like, I'm in this stock and it's like $2, and I wake up and it got bought out for like $700, and I end up making $100 million. Like, that shit happens every fucking week. I'm a trader. It's the only thing I think about and dream about. If you think about trading when you're dropping a bomb, you're a trader.
No, I talk in my first training course. I talk about having the trader dreams. It's just part of being a trader. Once you're like into it, you're obsessed, and you do literally have the dreams where you're either sleeping and you're in a stock overnight and you're like dreaming about the stock either eating shit or you're dreaming about the stock blowing up on some random news. So it's either stocks either blowing up on news or eating shit on news. They both have, you have them both, but you definitely have those dreams once you start trading very actively.
Very true. Now this is a good question, but I think it's been blown up a little bit too much. I think the media has probably blown this up. A lot of people say. I've got a few questions. Camilo, my man from Colombia, he's mentioning. Do you think it's more difficult to swing because of all the market manipulations with algos? And I'll say that. I think because we don't trade Apple or General Electric or Bank of America, we probably don't run into algos as much. I mean, we run into a different breed of people that probably are manipulating like other chat rooms or, pumps from PRs. So there's always that type of manipulation that goes on. But I don't feel like we run into the computers necessarily all the time. Unless you're trading Sirius satellite radio or some really thick stock.
Yeah.
Which I don't trade.
No, I think it's. I don't think we run into algorithmic information, but I'll look at Twitter and see what other chat rooms are pumping something. So I'll see manipulation on that level. But yeah, I think swing trading is a lot more difficult than it used to be, just because I think a lot more people are day trading now. A lot more people are interested in it, and the intraday swings are much bigger. So before, I could buy into a stock and just kind of sit there and watch it slowly, gradually go up over a week. Now I'll buy into a stock and it's freaking going haywire for all throughout the hours of the day, where I'm up $5,000 and all of a sudden next I'm break even or losing money, and then if I maybe stop out of it, next it's back up. So it's a lot more difficult, I feel, to swing trade these days because there's so much intraday volatility, and that's why I've been gradually moving towards day trading a lot, is because a lot of times if I don't take advantage of those quick opportunities, then I give up that profit opportunity. So swing trading definitely has become a little bit more difficult, but my biggest wins definitely do come from swing trading because I allow that patience on a large position to actually play out the pattern.
Word. I agree. Just one more. Does what we do, like your Foos 4 patterns, does it apply to futures or other stuff? I think what we do kind of applies to everything. I got one of my students, he trades futures right now for the additional leverage and stuff, and he's like, yeah, dude, it's flags and flat tops and all this stuff. It all applies.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of patterns can apply to anything. Anything you can trade, it can apply to. Do I trade everything? No, I've never traded an option in my life. I've never traded a future in my life. I've only traded small cap and larger cap stocks as of late. But these kind of patterns can really apply to anything.
Cool. So I think that is it. Guys, I'm going to put, Cameron, do you have an email that if somebody has questions, they can email you?
Yeah, they can either go to foosalerts.com, and there's a contact us button on the side of the screen, and they can fill out that form. And Robert will get in touch at any time that then they contact us. So just go to foosalerts.com and you'll see the contact us form. There's also a 7-video lesson campaign that'll pop up once you go to that website. You can fill out your email. You'll get 7 free video lessons kind of detailing how I do what I do and just give you a little bit more background about why I trade these stocks and whatnot.
Cool. And guys, I'll just put my email. My email is Kunal at bullson.ws. The people that were, we have a chat, and then there's like a question and answer tab also. I went through all the people that had the question and answer, but the people that were typing in the chat, it only allows me to go back like 2 tabs. So the people that were posting like an hour ago or 2 hours ago in the chat, the questions, we can't see them. So you can email me or Cameron, really anything that you want, and we'll get back to you. I apologize. It's just we can't scroll through the chats that long. We won't be able to see it. But you guys email me or call me or whatever. It doesn't matter. And whatever I missed, I'll make sure to pick up, and I'm sure Cameron will do the same. Cameron, my man, thank you. Let me ask you one last question. Do you think that we're going to get arrested in Costa Rica?
I hope so. Because that would make it interesting.
That was nearly last time, and it's not as fun as you would think. Now, the cool thing with Costa Rica is they don't have a standing army or military, so you can really, they're peaceful people.
Yeah, no, they're so chill down there, so I think you can get away with a decent amount of stuff down there. So it'll definitely be an interesting trip. I'm definitely looking forward to it. That's next week. 1 week from today, we're bouncing out. 1 week
from today, man. They got this huge bridge that's like 400 feet tall, and you can bungee jump off of it.
Oh, God. I'm a little scared of that, but maybe.
I hate heights, but I always do.
I should maybe do that. I bring in my GoPro and everything, so that would make for an epic GoPro video.
Let's do it. Not in tandem, though. That'll be great. All right, my man. Have fun, and I will see you in a week. Shit.
All right. Hell yeah, dude. I'm stoked. Thanks to everyone that showed up.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with us for 2.5 hours. Cameron, you got any last words? Speak now.
Damn, has it been 2.5 hours? Yeah, I guess it has been.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just, I want to thank everyone that showed up. Sorry, I can't even see the chat, so I haven't been able to answer, like, any kind of questions that you've been asking there. But, no matter what route you take in the stock market, first priority is to educate yourself on trading before you actually waste your money figuring it out, because that's what I did. That's what Kunal did. It took me 3 years to make money. It took Kunal 5 years to make money, so it takes a lot of time if you just try to wing it. So, both me and Kunal offer training services. There's a lot of other training services out there. We're not saying that ours is the best or somebody else is the best. All we're saying, no matter what route you take, go through some sort of training program before you actually start making money, because it's going to save you a shit time and a shitload of money over the long haul. So that's basically the most important thing I could tell anybody that's interested in trading here.
All right, cool. Hey, by the way, I forgot one last question. Somebody asked me about a stock, ATEN. That thing looks kind of hot. Now, the thing is, it's obviously a big turd since it fell down from $20 or whatever.
Yeah, that's all right. It could make a move up here.
But you know what? As long as you keep your stop loss under, like, just give it a little room, 390. You might get a run to $5. Who knows? I mean, it's an obvious turd. This stock is a piece of shit. That's what
any stock that has this kind of movement, there's a reason why it's down there. It's because it's a piece of shit or somebody's bashing or terrible earnings. But at the same time,
you might get a dollar move.
Cause a squeeze on it and ramp it up. So yeah, there's definitely potential on it.
There's a dollar move in there for 20, 30 cents risk essentially.
Yeah.
If it works.
Yeah.
All right, Cam. I'll see you next week, brother. Thank you. We might have to do this again. I never have repeat customers on, but this is pretty fun.
Yeah. No, that was fun, dude. It was a great time, lots of good conversation, and just, a good time bullshitting with you, man.
All right, peace, bro. I'll see you soon. Right. Well, I'll see you in G-Chat tomorrow.
Yeah. Later, man.